Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Talking about politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate. This is another edition of Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. This is where ideas meet accountability and civic voices shape the national conversation. I'm your moderator, Dennis Jai, and tonight we dive into the heart of Liberia's governance, justice, and development challenges. From the implications of the $1.2 billion national budget for fiscal year 2026 to President Boakai's recent travels to silencing President Weah's health. These are not just headlines, they are questions of leadership, transparency, and public trust. Our panelists tonight bring diverse perspectives, and we invite you, our viewers and listeners, to engage, to reflect, and challenge. This is not just a debate, it's a civic classroom, a national mirror, and a platform for progress. Let me welcome Dr. Augustine Mane Sumo to the debate, and I believe more.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I hope we can have a very fruitful and rewarding discussion. And once again, I would like to call on all to tune in, make a comment, and contribute as much as you can. Thank you, Dennis.
So, President Boakai's government, President Boakai, submitted a budget of $1.2 billion to our national legislature. And that's what was submitted. So we have some questions around that. First of all, President Boakai asked for an extension to submit this draft budget. That extension was granted, and so today was the D-Day to accept the budget. The budget is now in, and I read a summary of what it's all about. Let me see if I can pull that out quickly. It says President Joseph Newman Boakai has submitted the draft national budget for fiscal year 2026 to the national legislature, US $1.21 billion. Domestic revenue accounts for 94%, that's $1.13 billion, including tax and non-tax revenues, while external resources represent 6%, that is $72 million. The budget prioritizes investments under the arrest agenda, allocating 280 million to key sectors: agriculture, road, rule of law, sanitation, and tourism. Dr. Sumo, that's the little blur that accompanied this. I don't have access to the budget yet, but what's your initial reaction just hearing that our budget has gone up to $1.2 billion? Good news, bad news, or not so sure? You can unmute, please.
A significant increase because I think the budget for 2024 was somewhere around $880 something million last year. And what I see here to be a problem is, in as much as a good news, is that the government even have challenges, meeting up with that budget. So what has significantly changed that the budget of $880 million initially, get me right, I think it should be around that area, to be increased to $1.2 billion might be welcoming. Maybe there are some prospect of additional revenue, which the budget has not outlined yet. All of those things remain doubtful. And until the government can come out openly and clearly and break down, these sectors in which that have improved revenue and prompted, the budget to be, increased to 1.2 billion, we still would be a greater one. But it's just a political stunt where that needs to be proven again by the government. Because if you are just coming out to make an impression and thinking that, that would be welcoming for whatever political reason, the people will remain doubtful of your administration, and that will not work out well for a government in particular. So because when you look, budget in general, from what we see, budget in general are estimates of projected or foreseeable income, revenue, and then expenses. When you get that money, how you going to spend the money out in a layman term. At the same time, too, a budget will also include some other resources of allocation that, hey, between this year to this year, within this given period of time, we're going to generate this, or this will come in through investment. So in any case, I think that, much is a welcoming news, but I see it to be challenging, and it needs more explanation from the government.
That is true. Thank you. So you can move your phone now. Oh, all right. That's true. So what we're looking at, is the budget realistic or is it politically ambitious? So the talk of the budget going to $1 billion has been, we've talked about it before. And I think political leader of the ANC, Alexander Cummings, also that was his platform. Oh, if you give me the chance, I can raise the budget up to $1 billion. But as we all know, budget is just an aspiration. This is what we want to do. We are projecting revenue. This is what we hope to raise, looking at what we raised last year and where we're able to raise. And according to the budget this year, 94% is from domestic revenue. This is something that they're going to raise domestically. Are we overextending ourselves? Are we hoping too much, to say, from tax and non-tax revenue? Okay, only 6% is going to come from external sources. Are we saying it because we want this to look good for politics, or is it realistic? Again, but another key thing to look at is, okay, yes, we have 1.2 billion. We can even have 3 billion or even 10 billion. How much of this 10 billion is going to go towards expenses? How much of it is going to go towards investment? Or we're going to use the whatever we make to pay debt? So it really does not matter how much money is in the budget. It could be 50 billion, but if you use 50 billion, if you use 45 billion to pay yourself, to ride jets and all the 9 yards, what good is it? But let me welcome our resident economist, Thomas B. Cannon. In my village, Thomas, we don't say it, we say Thomas. So let me welcome Thomas to the place. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Good to be here. Hi to
Let me
Elvis and Dr. Sumo.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Elvis, who always claimed to be the youngest. I don't know whether you saw my birth certificate. But Elvis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. Are you getting me?
Sure now? Okay.
All right. So our first topic on the we have a problem with Dr. Sumo's connection. So Dr. Sumo, anytime you are not speaking, please mute yourself. So Liberia's budget, the one that is being submitted, and Tom, we were talking about this yesterday. The president asked for an extension. The extension was granted, and he was on point. Give me 7 days. At the end of 7 days, boom, there's budget. It's 1.2 billion. So the big question here we're asking is the budget realistic or politically ambitious? Can Liberia's revenue generation support this figure without borrowing heavily? Are the priorities aligned with the AAID or the arrest agenda? What accountability measure exists to ensure transparent spending? But before the resident economists come in, Elvis, when you heard that the budget is 1.2 billion, did you try to do the happy dance? What was your initial reaction?
Well, at first I smiled and I thought that, it's almost like a political jab at Alexander Cummings, this big hitting $1 billion, national budget. I think the president thinks he can achieve it, but looking at the performance of past budget in his administration, I think he had maybe one. And he's even complained that Double Jala, our LRA director, is not raising enough, domestic revenue. So I don't know where that money is going to come from. I know they broke it down. I think it's like $900 million is supposed to come from internal revenue. I don't know if we have more businesses in the country now. Maybe there's more concessions. Maybe HPX is coming in with a large cash infusion that's going to make up for some of that deficit that we're seeing. And it's even been reported. Maybe Mr. Thomas can attest or deny that the CDC government raised more internal revenue than this current government when they were in power in the last couple of years. So I don't know where that figure is coming from. I hope it hits a billion, 1.2 billion, but it looks unrealistic. It looks like something that we haven't come close to doing. Even the last year budget wasn't even close to it. So I don't know what the government is relying on to think that we can hit that mark. But again, our resident economist here will probably share more light on it. I'm eager to hear what he has to say on it.
Okay. The last time, about a month ago, we were talking about the budget, and Trump predicted that it's possible that we have a $1.2 billion budget. Tom, are you happy now? We got to the $1.2 billion.
Thank you, Dennis. I had said on that show that my expectation was the national budget to either hit $1 billion this year or next year.
Yeah.
So to me, it comes within the 2 years that I thought it will happen. But the only thing I can say at this point in time, we can only react to the headline figures
Yeah.
because the budget is not up yet for us to be able to go into it and see in details where the allocations are made. I think one of the questions you have is whether it's aligned with the AARD. It's a little difficult to be able to comment on those. But I just want to share a couple of things that I think are happening in the background that may have informed this budget envelope. The first thing is that the government of Liberia is going to transition from goods and services tax to value added tax. The current timeline they have for that is mid 2026. So hopefully by June, July next year, the LRA has been doing a lot of work on this transition. And generally, value added tax raises more revenue than goods and services tax because VAT is broad based. Also, there's a lot of digitization work that the LRA is doing. So they've been deploying these electronic fiscal devices. And the way the electronic fiscal device work is that you deploy them at service delivery points. So like the big hotels, the supermarkets and all of that. What an electronic fiscal device does is that it records the sales. So every sale that happens at that point in at that particular place where the electronic fiscal device is deployed, it records it, and therefore it makes it impossible for people to be able to either overstate their expenditure or to understate their sales or revenue. Quite recently, also, I think ECOWAS just introduced some kind of system to be able to track the movement of goods between Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Ivory Coast as part of the regional work that they are doing. And my understanding is that there's a lot of focus on non-tax revenue. It's not only the taxes, but the government really dug deep into the non-tax revenue portion. These are fees fees that are paid for services. It could be in the education sector, it could be in the health sector. Also took a deeper look at the SOEs. So I think these are the different things that are happening in the background that happen to have pushed the budget from 800 million this year to 1.2 next year. And then we have one second, let me just conclude. We also have a lot of new investments that are coming upstream. So you have the petroleum sharing contracts, I think with Total and one other company that is before the legislature. You have the this agreement that was signed with what's the name of the company, the HPS, Ivanhoe. But my concern with that is that some of the lawmakers are saying that they should not be placed in the budget right now because it would kind of like put pressure on the legislature to be able to pass these agreements to rectify them. So there could be the case that when the budget comes out of the legislature, it is either slightly increased or it will be slightly reduced. So that's why I think we need to be cautious about the numbers for now until it goes through the legislature. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a couple questions for you, Tom, if you don't mind. Maybe you can enlighten me.
Yeah.
What was our domestic revenue that was raised last fiscal year or last fiscal budget that the president submitted?
So the current we are currently in 2025.
Okay.
The expectation is that LRA will raise around 803 to 805 million. Now they are projecting in the release that came from the executive mansion that they will raise 94% of this envelope of 1.2 billion. So that's going to be around 1.1. So you have a push of around 300 million that we are expected to raise domestically. And I would think that is mostly going to come from the introduction of value added tax. There's a lot of focus also on collecting property taxes. I think we all remember when the president issued this circular for all government officials to pay domestic taxes. I was even arguing that that wasn't necessary because you already have the Local Government Act that provides for the collection of property taxes across the entire country. But to answer your question specifically, this year, the LRA is expected to collect north of 800 million.
Thank you. Mr. Namwe, let me hear from you. You know, your former political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings, was banking on this $1 billion budget. You think the president has removed the ladder from under Mr. Cummings now?
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. Good to be here. Let me say hi to everyone. Let me also welcome our audience. Don't forget to share the show. If you're not going to share, don't be here. All right, invite someone. Tell somebody. Let's have a good time. But look, you know, I came here. I don't know how much has been said by Thomas. I respect him a lot, but you know, I don't really. This budget is built on speculation, right? Last year the government, I think there was a budget of 880 million. I think they brought in 600 million. And Thomas here will tell me what I'm wrong.
It was 738 million last year. I mean, the 2025 budget.
Yeah,
No,
no,
2024. That was
that was
2024.
that was the previous year. I'm talking about the immediate past year.
Oh, the
This
past
fiscal
This-
year we're in now.
This current year is 880 million. Last year
Exactly.
was 731.
So our people say, you try 7th grade, you now make it, and then you're going back to school, you're going to go to 12th grade. How does that even make sense to anybody? This budget, and they will recast this budget. There will be a shortfall. They will recast it. We will never hit the 1.2 billion. I think they're just trying to put the math from Alex Cummings. They probably should have gone to him to ask him how did he arrive at that 1 billion. And they're trying to steal his thunder, and they're going to give us a pie in the sky budget here. They know they will never raise 1.2 billion, not even the 900 million they're talking about. So I think this is aspirational. It is speculative, and I think it's a disservice to our people because you're raising the expectations for no reason whatsoever, no justifiable reason. I haven't seen the entire budget document yet, but I really, if you know what it says about Christmas, or what is it about your performance being based on your past performance? If you try the last, budget year and you did not collect all of the revenue that you were supposed to collect, how do you release a budget that's almost double what you collected in the previous budget year? It doesn't make sense to me.
So, Mr. Namwe, I'm not trying to play economist here, even though, I'm so well rounded, but is it really important what that figure is?
It is, Dennis, because you make projections based on your past.
So let's say if you look at how much we have not been collecting,
right?
Okay. Take for instance, if we even switch to electronic payment, because there are a lot of revenues that go through the cracks. There are a lot of things that's going on, and also things that we don't capture. I mean, or Tom was trying to say last time, whether we even pay property taxes, because every time we go and buy land. So even the little ones that we have never. If you really take your time and focus.
Yeah, but
on
you
that,
heard Thomas. You heard Thomas saying we're including Ivanhoe, HPX. You know that it is not even going to be concluded this year. Why would we include that? Guinea is sensitive.
Yeah, there was a
Guinea.
No, but what I mean here is we are not capturing a lot. So if somebody decides to be serious, we should be able to raise that number. What I want to get at is that figure even important? Or how much of it we're spending on investment should be? If we raise 10 billion and we use 8 billion to pay ourselves and do the same thing, buy cars, what good is it? Is this figure? But let me go to Dr. Sumo. Don't forget to unmute before you talk and mute after talking. Unmute, please. We can hear you.
Okay, I think you muted me. So okay, can you hear me now? I wanted to direct a question, to Tom. He being the expert, in finance here. I do agree that the value advertised, which is a value system, is one of a very progressive one. Good, it's working in the sub-region, especially in Ghana and Liberia. Bringing it in will be good, for the economy. But let's go back to the GST where we still stand. I heard Evan said last year, the previous administration, which was 2023, through the current tax system we have. Now, my question to you here is, if we are to continue the same tax system until the VAT system is introduced, how can you meet up with the 1.2 billion, increment from 880 million? Is it that you're going to increase the percentage? Can you actually give us the current percentage at which the tax is calculated currently, or with the CDC government and the UP government? Can you just furnish us a little bit? I just want to get that clear.
You done?
Yeah. That's my question. If they are
Thank
to
you.
use a
Yeah,
vast
I got your
system,
question.
yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think this is a very important question that you are asking. But just to go back to the point that Eves made, is not true. So our domestic revenue has been coming up gradually. So it's not true that CDC raised more than what the Unity Party raised in domestic revenue. I think around 2023, when the CDC left, they left domestic revenue around beyond 700 million. And then this year is over 800 million. So
No, is that what they've raised or what they projected to raise?
it's not projection, it's what the raise, actual collection. So it's actually going up. But the question that Dr. Sumo is asking is very important. So the current GST rate is 11%. If we all have been following, this fiscal year, there were some concerns all over on social media, that the tax rate has been increased. So the history behind VAT is that Liberia committed to introducing VAT back in 2009. So VAT is actually a regional tax that has been adopted by ECOWAS, because ECOWAS has this project of ensuring that we can all be in a monetary union, just like you have the euro area. And we'll be working on introducing this currency called euro. So part of that integration on the monetary side also has integration on the fiscal side. And so on the fiscal side, the whole region decided to use VAT as the tax system in the region. So till today, Liberia is the only country in ECOWAS that has not introduced value-added tax. The last country that introduced value-added tax was Gambia. No, Guinea-Bissau. It was only two of us, Liberia and Guinea-Bissau, 2 or 3 years ago. But Guinea-Bissau did the transition. So when we transition from GST to VAT, the tax rate is going to increase from 11% to 15%. When the VAT law was submitted in 2024, it was submitted at 18%, with the hope that when the negotiation takes place in the legislature, they can then come to a conclusion. The VAT law was passed at 18%. That was not the point of implementation. But then the Ministry of Finance submitted an amendment to the VAT law that was passed in 2024. And I think sometime in 2025, it was reduced to 15%. So to answer your question, the VAT is going to be at 15%. And globally, VAT is between 12 to 18%. Because the implementation of VAT itself is expensive, is based on technology. Because VAT is, you want to capture value added at different levels. So when somebody is fixing Gary, for instance, you want to make sure you capture when that value is added, when they package it, when they sell it, until it gets to the final consumer. And the only way you do that is to introduce technology. So between 6 to 7% of the 15 or 16% is already taken away by the implementation of the VAT itself. So that's why regionally it's either 16 or 18%. Mostly in East Africa is around 16, 17%. But the VAT will be introduced at 15%. So that increase in rate already adds to the taxes that will be collected.
The question I was asking before Dr. Sumo came in to all of you is that number even important, the 1.8? Because if you read what they're saying is 280 million will be for investment. So we still have this recurring expenditure trap that we're going to be cutting. So what good is this?
I think the both numbers are important. I think the both numbers are important. The 1.2 billion is important because it indicates the government's progress in increasing revenue, which I think is very puzzling. If you're going to take 280 million out of 1.2 billion dollars, it is almost like the entire billion that is going to recurring expenditure. So that's one. And then the other one you're asking is quite true. We need to increase the money that we're allotting for investment, right? Education, health, roads, rule of law, sanitation, tourism, everything is coming from $280 million. Then where is the other $1 billion going? It's going to chartering jets to fly all over the place. It's going to scratch cars. That's where the other $1 billion is going. This is a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I would like to see the $800 million raise so far. I haven't seen anything about it. That would be record breaking, and I think the Unity Party government will be waxing poetic about it. I know Tom is an economist, and we trust his opinion on economic matters, but I've not seen where the current the LRA has raised up to date $800 million in domestic revenue. I haven't seen it. Perhaps Mr. Jobs seen it, or somebody else on the panel have seen that number. I don't know where we can go to find it, but that would be very impressive to me, and I would give this government credit if that's actually a fact, because I think that the fiscal year is still going on, and they probably surpass that number at the end of the year. So if that's an actual number, Thomas, that's really great. We want to see the actual data on that. But like what you're saying, Mr. Number, I am a proponent of taxes. I think nations are developed through taxes, and the citizens have to bear the brunt of paying taxes to the government. And I'm not opposed to it. What Thomas was saying about the value added system, we're trying to look at what we have now, what we've raised the previous fiscal year, and then compare that with what we could raise. So if you're talking about $800 million, like Thomas is saying, if that's all we raise, and we're going to raise an extra $100 million from value added taxes or from concession and other things like that, I think that's reasonable. I mean,
But Elvis, let me ask you this: what is it that we are producing that we're adding value on? What is it
I
we're
mean,
producing?
that's that's the point I'm trying to get to, right?
Value added tax is a function of production. And Thomas, you tell me, what is it that we're producing that we're
No,
adding
it's like,
that will generate this much in millions and millions? What is it? The 280 million, what is it going to produce? That's why I want to know.
but it's a projection right now, right? That's what they're forecasting, that with those things included, it can raise an extra $100 million domestically, which I think is a tall task, because this is something that's newly being introduced. We don't have any data that we can point to and juxtapose it, or compare it to what the next year would be. So $100 million in extra revenue, that seems to be far fetched, especially with how things are in the country economically. A lot of people are struggling. So the thing that you can squeeze an extra $100 million out of them is puzzling to me.
I'm sorry,
But I defer to Thomas. He's the expert here. I'm not the expert there. So, but I just want to ask some questions. Maybe you have the answers. Where can we find that the government so far from the LRA has raised $800 million? That would be very impressive. Maybe Thomas can point us to it.
Yes, I think sometime in September, Jobo Jala had a press conference at the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism. I'm trying to trace that, and I think the point he made at that press conference was that as of September, they have collected 70% of the 800 million that they needed to collect this year. So he was left with 30% between September or October to December of this year. So I'm just trying to track that down, and I will put it in the chat room. But to answer Dennis's question on does the figure matter? It does matter, because every time a budget increases, the expectation is that the services that are delivered are going to expand, and they are going to improve in quality. So a budget moving from 800 million to 1.2 billion is an increase of around 400 million. So the question is going to be, where are the additional 400 million going to go? Are they going to go towards improving education? Are they going towards increasing health care services? And let's not also forget that there are things that are happening in the economy. For instance, the expansion of electricity. They're trying to move electricity to Buchanan. They're trying to move electricity to Greenville. They're trying to move electricity to Grand Crew. The rural renewable energy just broke ground for some solar plant that they are building in Lofa to be able to provide electricity from Vonjama, Kulahu, Foya towards Bulahu, Masambulahu, and all of that. So the expansion of electricity is going to contribute to improvement in businesses. Also, you see that the improvement in roads, the roads that are being constructed, the roads that are being maintained for people to be able to move, all of those things are going to contribute to economic activity. The work that the Ministry of Agriculture is doing, giving grants to farmers to be able to produce, All of these things are going to contribute to economic activity. And to Mr. Nangbe, when we say value addition in the area of tax, it doesn't really mean that it is the natural resources that you are adding value to. It's just any goods. Either you are producing it, or even when you take it to the country, you add value to it. You can export things into the country and be able to add value to it. Let me give you an example. Even those who are selling drinks, if you go and buy the drinks and go and pull it on ice, it stays there. You maintain it. You improve the coldness
Oh,
of
Tom
it.
was coming on.
One second.
Let me sort out
That's-
intelligence with that, my man.
Um,
I mean, come
value.
on.
You want me to speak?
No, go ahead. I mean, just don't insult our intelligence to say that putting your drink in the refrigerator is adding value to it. How much more does it cost when you make a drink cold? What value is added to it monetarily?
How much money we got to buy the drink? Do $280
No,
million.
I'm just
Hold on, guys.
You take
Just
$1
an
billion
example.
and put it into
Oh,
squash
man.
cars and private jets. You're gonna tell us we're gonna add value on $280 million worth of production.
No, hold on, Victor. There
This is
could
a
be
disgrace.
other examples. For those of us
I'm
to
just-
really understand value added, you got to be very basic. So go ahead, Tom.
That's what I'm saying. So even when you go and buy the drinks, you know the colder the drinks, the more you pay for it. Do you know that, Evans?
Where? In Liberia?
The more you pay for it. So what I'm saying to you is value addition.
No, hold
Let's
on, Tom.
let's-
Elvis, if you buy the drink and you take that drink to your nightclub, you think it will cost the same thing? Or if you
No,
take
but
it to
no, I mean, that's up. You marking it up, right? And that's to make profit. But the value,
Yes,
just marking it up is a value. But that's because it's cool. I don't know how cool it is. I mean, come on now.
That's what I'm saying. That markup, and that's what VAT does. So every time you get a markup along the value chain, the VAT captures tax from that value that you have added. I just gave you an example of even people are making something in Liberia now they call a super gari. So they will take the cassava, they will add milk, they will add other things to it. It is value that they are adding to the cassava. So along that value chain, the profit that they make, the government captures little taxes from it. And the way the VAT works is that every time you sell from one point to the other, that profit that you make is where the VAT collects the government revenue from. So I just wanted to say that even though we are not adding value to iron ore, or maybe we're not adding value to gold, it doesn't mean that the value added does not suffice. Even the plant that has been built by Metal Steel to be able to, that washing plant that they have built to be able to clean the iron ore before they can or take it out of the country, that's value addition.
Yeah, that's value addition, but that's not what people. That's a tangible value addition. If somebody goes in the market and buy a fish for $5 and they go and sell it for $15 and they're making a $10 profit, are they adding any tangible value to that fish, or they're just upmarking it to increase their profit?
No. When they go and cook it and then sell it in a restaurant, that's value that they have added to it, and then you get taxes from there.
Listen to Double Jara.
103 million, as I said, because the overall
I
budget
think what if I'm getting Tom player?
6 million. Of that amount, we expect to get 76 million from external resources, 76 million and change. So the domestic resource target is around 804 million. So year to date, that is as at September 8th, we were required to have collected of this 804 million, we were required to collect as at the 8th of September, 552.8 million. To date, as at September 8th, we have collected 562 million, 562.1 million, against 552 million target as at the 8th of September. So what that translates to is that we are actually doing more than 9 million more than our year-to-date target. And the 562 million that we've collected so far constitutes 70% of our collection target for the year.
So that proves my point. They've only raised 570 some million in actuality in the last month and a half, maybe they've added maybe another 20 or 30 million. So they haven't raised $800 million in the hand. They've only raised 70% of that amount, Thomas. That's what I was asking.
No, 1 second now. That was September.
Yeah, but it's only been like 2 months. You think they've raised extra $300 million in the last 2 months?
No, Elvis. One thing you have to understand is that we have different forms of taxes. And the different forms of taxes got collection timeline. There are some taxes you pay on a monthly basis. There are some taxes that are paid on a quarterly basis. There are some taxes is instantaneous, like trade taxes. Once you appear to the port, you have to pay the taxes. On property taxes, for instance, it could be annual. Some taxes are paid on a monthly basis, like excise tax and all of that. So what I was saying was that as of September, they have collected 572, which was 70% of the 804 million. So they were left with around, I think, 240 some more million to cover the year. So it's possible that as of December 31st, the LRA will be able to collect the 804 million that they expected to collect this year. If they don't collect it, it will be in the annual report that comes up. The LRA does reconciliation on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, and then they publish the annual report. So we look forward to the annual report to see if they hit the 804.
Right. Okay.
Dr. Sumo, you wanted to say something?
Yes, exactly. Or the video just kind of like clarify something I wanted to clarify. I wanted to get clarification from. So I think I'm good right now.
All right. So some of the questions that we may not be able to answer now, I was asking, to what extent would this support the arrest agenda? And based on the number that is in there, Tom, you say you wouldn't know now, but based on the number that is in there, 280 million to investment, which is like very small. And the second thing is, how do we assure accountability? What accountability measures that will exist to ensure transparency in the spending? Because, and the reason I said that all these numbers may not matter, they will just depend on how we use it. Again, if we are not transparent, if we are not accountable, or if we are using the 1 billion to go to the club and only the 0.2 for something else, then this for me means nothing.
Yeah. Okay, Thomas. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Evans.
Yeah, for me, that's the point that I was trying to make, Mr. Ja. One of the things that I don't see, and maybe Thomas can explain this again, he's the expert. Why are we not, shaving, waste? That's one of the things that Mr. Cummings stressed in his plan, that he's going to cut waste, right? In his budget and these projections, I don't see anything about projecting that we're going to cut the fat on this, ministry, or we're going to try to cut some waste in this agency to try to increase our actual money that we can spend, outside of reoccurring, expenditures. So that's one of the things I want to see from the government. Everything that they propose, we don't see anything about getting more revenue, by cutting waste from different agencies, and that way you can invest into the Liberian people. So maybe Thomas can speak on that, but that's one of the missed opportunities that I see in this government. Like you're saying, Mr. Jai, if you're spending 280 million, you're spending almost $900 million, on reoccurring expenditures. Why are we not trying to trim down our national, reoccurring expenditure and try to save money, and then reinvest it or invest it into the Liberian people in education, agriculture, and other things?
That's a true statement. Tom, if you have nothing else, then we can move on.
No. I think the question about efficient spending is very critical. And like I have repeatedly said on the show, the issue of revenue generation does not only rely on those agencies that collect the revenue. Those agencies that spend the money also have a responsibility, because it has been established repeatedly in the literature that the way you spend government money has an implication on the way people are willing to pay taxes. So if you go back to the history of the introduction of VAT, for instance, when it was introduced in Ghana, it created problems. That's why Liberia has even been over the years afraid to be able to, they have approached it carefully, because we are going up from, let's say, 11% to 15%. That's already an increase of 3% on taxes that people are going to pay. So people are going to react. And one thing VAT does is that it brings up a one-time price increase. So watch this, what I'm saying on this show today. If the VAT is introduced as of, let's say, July 1 next year, prices in the country will jump, because businesses will have to account for that 3% increase that they are going to pay in prices. So you wake up on June 30th, if you were buying one cup of maybe rice will not be, because the way VAT is designed is that there are some goods that are exempt. And in Liberia, I'm sure they exempted rice because it's our staple food. And then some other things that are used by people regularly, especially the poor people, they are exempt from VAT. But it will then cover all other goods. That's why it is broad-based. So one thing that it's going to do is that it's going to contribute to a one-time increase in price. But it has been established that it doesn't contribute to inflation, because inflation is that continuous increase in price. But at one time, it will increase. So we should expect that citizens and businesses are going to react to that tax that is going to be introduced, even though it will increase the revenue envelope that we collect. But the question about how we spend those resources is very critical. And to me, I don't, even though the 280 million was in an official government statement, I don't want to believe at this point in time that out of 1.2 billion, only 280 million will go to investment. That's what I'm saying.
Why you don't believe
Because,
it?
because if you listen to even the current finance minister, he has always argued on the basis we define investment. So much of what we do in the education sector, for instance, is investment. We are investing in building human capital. What we do in the health sector is investment, because we want people to be healthy, to work and pay taxes. So that definition of investment is something I really want to go into the budget, look at the numbers to be able to see. But to answer your question about how we efficiently spend this, it shouldn't be the case that because the budget is jumping up, then chopping will just jump up. If it happens that way, then we have a problem in the country. And that's why the LACC just brought up their 5-year strategic plan. It will be good for us to really see what the LACC is going to do, and all these anti-corruption institutions. The asset recovery team is doing some work. Internal audit, they need to step up, because as the resources are going up, if you slack the accountability piece of it, then people will just take it and do anything that they want to do. So I think on the expenditure side, we need to be very careful and strengthen our public financial management systems so that those resources can be used to go towards actually solving the needs of what the people want. Because Mr. Nangbe made a point. Once the budget increases this way, the expectations are going up. People expect better. People expect more. And so we cannot deliver the same quality and the same level of services that we're delivering when we have 800 million budget with a $1.2 million budget. So I think the expenditure side is where we need to pay attention.
You missed my point, Thomas. 10-second quick.
We got to move on. Let me just bring since Cummings been talking about this 1.2 billion you got in there here. I think Cummings got no more light to stand on, Anthony.
Absolutely, Mr. Cummings have a lot. Look, the brother just touched on the point that I wanted to make. When you increase the budget, that people have a high expectation, and he just made that point. Look, Mr. Ja, and good evening to everyone. First and foremost, there are a lot. $1 billion cannot solve like grand problem. We need $2 to $3 billion to adequately address the current reality of Liberia. That's the truth, because we got to look into the budget line and see the 1.2 billion proposed budget. What is it really targeting? What is it really targeting? Is it targeting domestic, investment? Is it targeting new, a line of things that will impact the living condition of the people? Or these are additional money that will be going back into, government official pocket? We don't know. We just hear the amount 1.2 billion. We got to see if that 1.2 billion now, agriculture are getting like 5 million now, agriculture will get 25 million. Or education now will get more money than they ever had before. These are things that will inform the people to see, oh, yes, indeed, this government is working in the direction of improving the living condition of the people. Just giving a figure 1.2 billion does not automatically solve the problem.
Anthony, you got to read the proposed budget. It's out there, my man. Go read it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all the time we have on this subject. Let me welcome also SOJ. That's Samuel Jada. Welcome, Sam. If you want us to hear you, you got to.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm here. Thank you.
Laurent Babo Hita.
Or ever talking black and white though. If you so don't listen to everybody when you're talking. While the Boakai government is laying out big financial plans, another arm of government is chasing big accountability cases. Finda Nora Bundoo's arrest warrant, the anti-corruption test intensifies. I think you may have heard that the court has issued arrest warrant for Finda, Nora Bundoo, and others. For so the enrichment probe intensified. But so since they said Finda Bundoo and her daughter, and right there, people started looking at the video of the little girl that she was kind of living in opulence. So the pictures started going around, and so we caught a glimpse of those pictures and want to share them. Take a look. All right. So the little children can embarrass people.
What happened to the best in the business? No, wait a minute. Tell us what happened, John. You're the best in the business. What just happened?
That only one picture we saw. We didn't see the splash show.
Oh, you only saw one picture?
Yeah. I'm sure it's supposed to be a splash show.
Yeah, it's a splash show.
Yeah, I think we're stuck.
There are a couple of pictures, but it's not in the slideshow format.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. But what happens here is
I don't know, but I saw a lot of pictures though.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a lot of slides.
Just now?
Yeah, I saw with some money, some like she's sitting there wearing expensive watches and all the stuff. I saw a lot of slides.
Oh.
Yeah, we saw that in the chat room, but you gotta mute. Yeah, you hearing the echo. Or maybe you gotta go and come back. But when I saw the two pictures, one with the Finda Bundoo wearing her Louis Vuitton backpack in front of her, and the other one with a little girl and some Gucci. I mean, that's not an indictment, man. I buy my mom Gucci spray and little things like that. I don't mean you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. Not just because it's Gucci means you're spending hundreds of thousands on it. Those things are little Gucci bags. They're not handbags that cost $5,000 or $8,000. Those could be little colognes or other things.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, now it's giving now. Yeah, now you're good.
You can see it. I can see it.
Now you're good.
I mean, I can still see everything.
Right. I don't know what it's coming from.
But so that news to the woman get food. I want to show you the woman news for now.
Somebody was talking about it, said, but why every administration got to get their own Harrison panel? Somebody will embarrass everybody. But the issue of the asset recovery, the asset recovery thing has been behind Gracious Rye, and they are finding more things, right? So they are saying, hey, we're getting more things. Finda Bundoo was able to do some money laundering, hide money here and there, and all that. So, Sam, the asset recovery news that it's been a while. The asset recovery, when they came up, we're all excited, but it's like I don't know whether that rise high and low they've been quiet for some time, but now they're up with a $6 million. What's your feeling towards this latest news about Finda Bundoo and her daughter?
Well, it's a welcoming news. At least we should always be able to prosecute those that misuse fund while they were serving. Mostly we appoint people to serve people, not to benefit, to be the beneficiary or to be embezzling money. But I just hope that this asset recovery only target. I hope that it's not only targeting the CDC government, the past CDC government. I think we should also look at the asset. Now we have a problem in Weah, a 10 million project is ongoing there. I'm not sure whether the asset recovery will also look at that as a point of
It
investigation.
will be LACC, not asset recovery.
But well, the money is also, the building is also an asset. So we are recovering assets. They just showed Finda today when I watched them. They were showing her apartment or estates that she also built. We don't know how she acquired that money, and the 10 million shouldn't be different from what we saw today. And we should also go beyond Ellen Sirleaf Johnson time too. We can go there too and see how most of those people became rich overnight. We shouldn't just stop to admit that President Weah government as if we are witch hunting. I don't want it to be a witch hunt, but I think it's a very good thing that we should hold people accountable. We should always have second plan where we can prosecute our leaders. We see here in the United States, Joe Biden's son was in court. We saw Donald Trump in court. He was a former president, and we saw him in court for something that he did, which is also a good thing when we do it in Liberia. But we shouldn't just limit it to CDC 6 years. I think we should go beyond that. We should also do anything that we can do also as well to the past unity government. We shouldn't say 6 years, or maybe we're waiting for another government to come to also recover assets from Joseph Boakai government. It shouldn't be like that in Liberia. We should just make it practical. We should just do it across the board.
Thank you.
Empower.
So the question we are asking, and Elvis, I'm coming to you because you are the CDC guy here. The questions here are: is this a genuine fight against corruption and or is it a political retribution? How does this reflect on Boakai's promise to recover stolen assets? What are the risks of selective justice in this prosecution? Can the judiciary remain independent in politically charged corruption cases? Elvis.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Look, I've said this before and I'll bring it up, right? Joseph Boakai, in his 12 years as vice president, got paid $2 million in base salary. Just in salary alone, he became a millionaire. He built a home in I think, Bowman County, a farm there. And I think on his listing, he said he had an apartment or a business that he's renting out in Monrovia. So he's a millionaire. From politics, he's a millionaire. So in regards to this girl, Finda daughter, look, I'll give you an example. It's a silly example in a way. But when a woman who has 2 or 3 kids in America file her taxes and get like $12 or $50 or $10,000, and take that wad of cash and post it on Facebook, you think she's a rich person? Of course not. If you're showing us tangible assets like real property, like land and homes, and appreciating asset that this little girl has, then you know that she has real thing. But if somebody's showing you $5,000, her mother was minister, I think, for presidential affairs, with our portfolio, something like that, a really high position. What was her base salary for those 6 years? How much did she get? Can her mom give her $5,000? Can her mom build a home? There's senators in that country who can build homes, mansions. Like I said, sometimes they can borrow money from the bank. This might be ill-gotten, but if the government has to prove it, that she stole money, and then she used this money maybe to try to launder the money and get into legitimate businesses, and thereby they can prove it. But to just assume that a girl whose mother was working in government at such a high position can't afford luxury goods, that's
Hold on, Elvis.
Dennis, I'm sorry, I gotta get off. Thank you, guys.
Okay, 1 second. Elvis, I don't think the asset recovery team is using her Facebook pictures to bring the indictment against her.
Okay.
I'm saying people were just posting these pictures. Those are the ones I wanted to share. So
Yeah, because
that's
they're not.
the basis for the indictment.
Okay, because I know that they were going against Finda gracious ride, taxi company. And again, it's worth doing the audit. Like if she couldn't afford anything at all before she got in government, and then you do her base salary, and she made $400,000 in the 6 years? Because people get paid a lot of money on a monthly basis, right? If Finabona was getting paid $10,000 a month over the 6 year period, then you do the calculation and see if she could afford those things.
Just 6 million.
Right. So that's my point, right? So if it doesn't commensurate with her paycheck, if she didn't take any substantial loans, because people who are in high government position gets big, to get big loans from LBDI and other banks. So again, it can be explained if there's evidence to back up her assertion that maybe these were loans and she used that loan to invest in businesses and build homes and apartment complexes. A lot of people do it in government. It's not unusual. But again, if the government can prove that she stole money from different agencies and this is where she tried to launder the money, hey, she should be found guilty and face the full weight of the law. I'm not in favor of it, but you got to prove it. Joseph Boakai's son, Tonton, who has a nightclub, No Stress, who's now rebuilt that nightclub and renovated. Where are you getting the money from?
So what is your point?
My point is that people who work in
government now. So are you saying?
No, but that's the point that I'm making. People who have power in that country, who are making money, who are in government position, their children tend to reap the assets of their parents. If your pa is now a millionaire in 3 years' time working in government, you're gonna start having a new car, maybe you get a nice apartment. And that's why I want to give a shout out to Cham Weah. You never saw Cham Weah living in opulence, even though his dad was president. So I don't think this is something that proves that Finabona was necessarily corrupt because she had some, business that she was doing. A lot of people have apartment buildings in Liberia that are ministers and senators, and they got to legitimately through their salaries as representatives or senators.
Thank you. You sound very defensive. I don't know.
I'm being defensive because it's not outrageous for government officials to have properties and have wealth. Because the salary alone, we always complain the salary is outrageous. People are getting paid tens of thousands of dollars a month in Liberia with barely any tax. You think they can become millionaires and very wealthy over a period of 6 years? It's very possible, just on the base salary alone.
Thank you. Let me go to Tom.
So, Dennis, we're just discussing the budget that has been submitted. And your last question was, how do we ensure that the resources in that budget are used efficiently? And my answer was that we have to improve the public financial management systems that are in place to make sure that the resources can go to where they need to go. If not, like you said, the figure, it really doesn't matter. It can be 8 billion, but if it is not used for the people, then it's of no use. So the topic we're just discussing and this one, they are actually linked, because the claims that are made here by the asset recovery team, and I don't know if we listened to the press conference that Councillor Martin had today. His point was that people keep saying, "Oh, we're running behind yellow taxi." He said it's not the yellow taxi that we're running behind, but we are running behind other things. And that's why their investigation is now leading to the apartment complexes and all of that. And to Evers's point, a Gucci watch or a bag is not something to claim that, okay, somebody cannot afford. But you have to look at that person. Before they got into that position, did they afford these things? There are people who know this little girl. They live on Camp Johnson Road there. Before her ma got into business, her ma used to run, I think, a shop in River G. Was she wearing those things? And also, the domestic debt audit that the GSC just did, this company that the asset recovery team flagged today is also in that domestic debt audit, that they couldn't verify the claims that they said the government owed them. So when you point to all of these different pieces of evidence that are coming out, then you have to say that this investigation needs to continue. And like Councillor Martin said today, we are the only country where people come to government, they get rich, and we really don't check. Go to Freetown right across the border and see what Ben Kefala is doing at the LACC, recovering billions and billions of leons every day and giving it back to the government. And that's why I was saying the LACC 5-year strategic plan that they have followed, we need to see it. Because since the LACC was created in 2008, we really don't see what they are doing to be able to help us recover the millions that we are losing every year in corruption. Now they're trying to establish an anti-corruption court. I think there's a bill that has been submitted by Senator Yombly Kanga and Senator Jala to create the War and Economic Crimes Code as well as the Special Code for Corruption. So let's see where these things go. But if the resources that go through the national budget just ends up in people's pocket, they will be the people who will continue to suffer.
Dr. Sumo, there's always this question, and you could see, and I want to use Eddie as an example, his posture, right? That every time we grab one row, they say, how about the other one? Even though fairness is very important, but if we can catch one genuine role and take the money from them, even with that one person every 5 years, are we taking baby step or fairness trump everything? Because we always point finger to the other person and say, how about the other one? Why is this whole corruption business so, I would say, administration centric? It's about, we are government, Boakai government, Do government, Salif government. It's like we don't pay attention to that, whether it's we are government or Boakai government or Ellen government, they are stealing from us. Why do you think we are looking at this whole corruption business that way?
Yeah, thank you. And you see, this takes me back to the previous show when you asked the question, who to be blamed, the government officials or the people? You see, until we as a people can come together and realize the fact that no matter what it is, like Tom said, it's not just a matter of 5 billion budget, this and that. How is this money going to be spent? And I also want to agree with Jada. Jada said, look, we should not just do this like a witch hunt, only looking at CDC, no. But if this system has to be a working system that will benefit the Liberian people, it has to go across the board, including our very sitting government. Now, there's my point on this. The Liberian mentality of my friend is in power. He's the Minister of Finance, or for example, can you see the man naked house? They praise their friends and call him smart. I said this before. Until we can get out of that, we're not going anywhere with any system. Because you go to the court is corrupt. The judge sitting over there know exactly the decision before you got there. So what I'm trying to say here is that in order to make this system here or asset recovery effective, we cannot repeat the same mistake that the Samuel Doe government did after 1980 coup, because it did not work. So until we can create a system of check and balance and fair play, before we can go behind those that we want to, investigate, we're not going to go anywhere. It's just going to look like a mere witch hunt. We first have to create a system that is credible to go after these people. For example, I went into management before in this country, and the first thing they put in front of me was how much of a gift I'm supposed to allow. With my position, $50. Anything more than $50, I should reject it. Because anything more than that is belief someone can influence you because of that gift. Is that what we're going to institute in Liberia? If the question is yes, are we going to practice? So at this point in time, let us not just look at, CDC or even the alien. Let us go beyond and set a system. You violate the rule, the law takes a course. And if that can be done, I'm totally in favor of, an asset recovery. In the absence of that, this is just a mere show. And definitely I look at it as a witch hunt to some extent.
So let's look at it this way, and I want to Anthony disappear. But let's say even if it is targeting CDC government alone or the past government, and the Boakai government is able to actually, not to lie on people and say, oh, since you were in the government, if they can actually go after only people that work in government for the past 6 years, and we can recover, let's say, maybe 50 million. Wouldn't that also put pressure on the government of Boakai that, hey, we know when we leave, the next government coming after will do the same, so we better not stay. So either way, isn't that good for us?
No.
It will. In my view, it will. But It has to be balanced. That's just my point.
My point here is you got mute please. It will have even a more desperate reaction to where now this government will be even more reluctant to give up power because they know 100% the next government is going to come after them. And that's one of the things that African leaders are afraid of. They're afraid of accountability. And that's why they tend to hold on to power because they stole so much that they know once they give up power, that the next government is going to go after them, take everything away from them. Like what happened in Angola with Isabella dos Santos and Eduardo dos Santos. They went after him, took all the money that his daughter, who was a billionaire, they went and stripped everything from her, even though somebody was legitimate, but they used that to take all of their wealth from them. So again, if you're saying that you want to go after one group of people, fine. I don't mind it. Look, I'm not in Liberia. I'm not a CDC, so to speak. I sympathize with the CDC and President Weah, but it doesn't take any skin off my back if she's prosecuted and found to be guilty. But many people are saying in the comment section here that she was a relatively successful businesswoman. You have to understand in Liberia when your parents or somebody is working in government, it's a lot of money. It's a big infusement of cash. In America, somebody making $10,000 a month, it's not a lot of money really. But in Liberia, it's a lot of money. You can afford a lot of things, and also for 6 consecutive years. Do the math. So let's not act as if she can't build properties. I know a personal family member who's living in an apartment complex that's owned by Samuel Toy, right? He was able to build an apartment complex. Can you say that as a finance minister, he's not able to build an apartment complex in Liberia? He can build an apartment complex in Liberia for $50,000. Joseph Boakai was going to the bank and taking thousands upon thousands of dollars. They're living on loans. After he made millions of dollars working as vice president. His son was able to open a nightclub when he wasn't doing anything tangible before. How he got that money? Because his father was a wealthy man working in government. So kids can benefit from the parents working in government. Whether you want to attribute that money to being stolen or just from their salaries, or maybe money to borrow from the bank and invest it and do other things with it. It's not saying that she's not corrupt, but I'm just telling you can explain it because people in government have access to funds, whether it's through borrowing or their large salaries that they receive on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, I should say.
Or through stealing.
Through stealing, all of those things are possible. But we want to focus on the stealing because we want to paint her to be a corrupt official, which is possible. But it's also possible she got that money in legitimate means also.
Thank you, Anthony. Don't go away again. You already came late, and you go. And since you lost that election, you're not civil.
Sorry. So for me, the asset recovery thing is not a new news. But Unity Party is very clever when it comes to propaganda. The reason why the whole asset recovery thing resurfaced today is because the president went to France and signed an extension of ArcelorMittal Steel deal, 25 years for $500 million. That is a bad deal for Liberia. And they don't want that deal, the news out there because the Senate is yet to rectify that concession. So that is the reason why they came up with Finda circumstances and with the whole asset recovery. It's not a new thing. But the news that the president came back from France with a $500 million for additional 25-year extension for ArcelorMittal Steel, where they will be making $2.8 billion annually, and Liberia will be getting $20 million. That is not a good deal. It doesn't make no sense for Liberia to extend ArcelorMittal deal for additional $25 million. For me, I allow the court process to go through with Finda and the rest of the other people. If they are found guilty, they didn't fit the weight of the law. I yet to see, people being held accountable for corruption in Liberia. It's always an allegation, and the allegation dies down. Never a proper, due process, and the people are found guilty and then they go into jail. We've never seen that yet, right? We see all of the political implications that happen. So it will be a good thing for Liberia, wherein our country will hold people accountable and for accountability. But the true reality for which this news resurfaced today, two things they did. They released the information on the $1.2 billion proposed national budget and this news to cement the circumstances surrounding this whole, ArcelorMittal deal extension. It is not a good deal for Liberia. I challenge anyone who will say iron ore on 20 million metric tons of iron ore being, taken out of Liberia, and we get $20 million every year. It's a good deal. That is a bad deal for Liberia, and that is the reason why this new resurface.
So you're saying they're trying to use it to distract us, Anthony Gay? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. They've been doing that distraction for so many. Look, Unity Party is very good when it comes to propaganda. That is the reality.
Thank you.
Dennis,
Samuel, do
Dennis,
you?
Dennis, I
Yeah.
think we need to correct some things. To say the national budget was submitted because the president went out of the country and came back is not true. By law, per the public financial management law, the national budget needed to be submitted on the 31st of October. And when the president could not submit it on the 31st, he wrote the legislature and said, give me one additional week. So by law, the president needed to submit the national budget today. If he did not submit the national budget today, he had to rewrite the legislature to give him an extension. So to say, oh, they brought a budget because of something that happened out there is not true. Also, we all do know that ArcelorMittal is engaging the government to be able to extend their concession, which is ending in 2030. But to say the president went to France and he signed it is not true, because the interministerial committee that sits on these concessions, we have to clear it from the executive side. They have to sign it before it goes to the president. So how can the president sign an agreement when the interministerial committee on concessions has not gone through their process? So these are not true. And let's not forget about you guys praise. One second.
Let me finish.
The same way they signed the 2025 national budget without proper hearing. They signed the budget behind closed door. The budget they didn't go through the proper hearing process of the 2025. You want to argue that one again?
Which the previous year budget? This year budget?
Year budget.
There was a hearing. You didn't hear.
Where
you didn't
hearing? Behind closed door?
Okay, Anthony, man, you didn't see the expenditure.
Anthony,
let him talk. Let Thomas talk. Let Thomas speak, please. Give him the floor.
It is not true to say that there was no hearing on the 2025 budget. We all watched the hearing. People were invited. You didn't even hear. It was even in 2024 when the hearings were not extensive. When Eugene Fagon and other people complained that they were not even invited to the legislature for them to go and defend their budget because they didn't do it with all of the agencies. But the 2025 budget, there was extensive hearing done on the 2025 budget, even though they had some crisis in the House, but they had hearing on it. So we can say that, Anthony.
Samuel, do you think Finda Bundoo will get a fair trial?
Well, getting a fair trial, that's another thing we will talk about. But the question that you asked about if we only stick with CDC, and then what happened, even if they account for over millions of dollars or 50 millions of dollars, if it is okay. No, it is not, because then you will have the same thing we discussed the other time regarding Cameroon, those African leaders that always hold on to power. We hold on to power in Africa because we don't want retaliation. So if you say you want to limit it to only CDC, will Unity Party concede to CDC even or ANC or CMC tomorrow, even if they lose the election? I doubt that, because guess what? They know that they'll be also coming after them, so they will actually hold on to power. And then where is the national cohesion? Where is the national unity? It will be now CDC versus Unity Party or Unity Party versus CMC. We should have a national cohesion and national reconciliation. If you are guilty of a crime, it should be because you are sedition, you should be guilty. It should be because you did it. You committed that crime. So we shouldn't limit it to CDC alone. Like I said, if it is limited to CDC alone, that would be considered absolutely as a witch hunt. And we don't want that. We want it to go beyond CDC. Right. In fact, you have people that acquire wealth during the early 12 years. And when CDC came, they were reluctant to actually go after them. I don't know why, reason best known to themselves. But now today we have Unity Party that are trying to set an example and a precedent that tomorrow will be doing it. Yes, but it shouldn't just be limited to CDC. They should also go back, because I think the president was saying the other time, all those that didn't declare their assets and stuff should be, I think he suspended them. Go back to the asset when the asset declaration.
Asset declaration,
yeah, and look at that. Once you look at it and say, let's say Samuel Jada he declared, let's say 15,000, now he worth 8 million. Okay, how did you acquire this 8 million in less than 2 years? Are we going to that, or are we just looking at CDC and Finda Bundoo only?
Right.
And I think we should start politicizing everything when it comes to that country. If Finda Bono is not above the law, not because she was former protocol, she shouldn't be above the. Nobody should be above the law, but it shouldn't just be limited to Finda Bono only.
Right. So I don't know who's politicizing, right? So if the government here decides, say, okay, we took power today. So we took power January 1. So we're just going to start from December 31st and go backward. In that process, within the 6 years, if they can grab 100% who genuinely stole, and we're starting from somewhere.
Yes, we
But
are.
it-
It should not be limited
but
to
it-
that. That's our.
But if
that the player can stop.
no, these people, I don't make that argument because now you're making an argument for the government. And simultaneously, you have people in your government who are allegedly corrupt and people whose lifestyles, dramatically increase, and is enjoying the largesse of the state, and you're not even daring to even investigate them. There's this big skin on your head that there's a villa being built in for you. People say from Wasanga, fine, but it's being built in for you, and you can't tell the Liberian people what's really going on, how much it's really costing, who
Right.
approved it. So they're selective.
They're going to get to that, right? Because first
Oh,
of
they're going to
all,
get to it when they leave office. Okay.
Yeah. First of all, LLC or GAC will go through the year and all that stuff, right? What I'm trying to get at is this process of saying, okay, we know that we have 500 rogue thieves in the country. We are saying we can even catch 5 unless we get all 500. And when
No.
when are we going to start? At what point we're going to start catching all of them? So do
you know the yardstick? Do you know the yardstick they are using to go after Finda Bono? What are they using?
So they took power today. They say we're going to look back starting from the day we took power all the way, going back to.
There's a statute of limitation of 5 years, anyways.
So if they are doing that, the only thing I think we should be concerned of if they are lying on people in the Weah government that didn't steal at all. But if you stole and they grab you and say, "Oh, why you didn't steal? Why you didn't?" Even though we are 5 row, but we only took my 1, but you stole.
Should we be advocating for them going after people in their own government who is stealing and who is corrupt and whose lifestyle doesn't match their salaries?
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're not doing that.
That shouldn't be a prerequisite to catch previous rogues.
Oh, so it's only about previous rules, not the current rules.
Yeah, so I think to sugarcoat that, I think to sugarcoat it.
I think the current rule should not be the prerequisite to going after previous thieves.
Yes.
No, it has.
In order to say that,
yeah,
I agree with what he's saying. In order for us to,
you gotta start from somewhere.
You gotta start from somewhere. I agree, but you have people in your government that have been accused of XYZ.
And we hear we'll come after them.
Oh, okay.
Joe will embarrass the CDC people so they can feel good about it.
Dennis, can I make a point?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing,
just take the CDC out. Just look at this person as a thief. Look at the person they are catching as a criminal. If that person actually is, whether that person is CDC or Unity Party or LPP,
that's besides the point.
You got Louis Brown working in your government who built $1 million house. Of all the corrupt leaders, you got fired by Charles Hill for being $1 million house. And you see that person, you put him in your government. And you think you care about accountability and people ripping the country and stealing from the country? Of course not. It's hypocrisy.
So even if I do hypocrisy and genuinely recover 5 billion, is that at least I get something now, instead of somebody who said we all brother and sister, we're not going to touch anybody.
You guess what? Okay. Yeah, let me be quiet.
I think one thing I wanted to mention. One thing I wanted to mention.
Don't like the CDC mindset or Unity Party mindset that that my party member. So we're going to hug our party member when they are wrong, and then so how about the other one? I mean, how long are we going to be doing it?
No, selective political targeting is something that will be against Mr. John. You should be against it too. Don't give him all the leverage to target us politically.
You should be against stealing. That's the first thing.
I am, but I'm also against the stealing that's going on now also. So why isn't that relevant?
You are saying this thief is my thief. So
but everybody protect his or her thief.
Yeah, you protect. Yeah, everybody protect that. I want to see you beating that thief. Then we can talk about the other people. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I think one thing I wanted to mention was I put it in the chat room is the issue of the statute of limitation. Even when the asset recovery was set up, it became a critical issue. Let's not forget that they seemed gracious and right, took the asset recovery team to court. They even went to court and said that it wasn't legitimate.
Yeah.
There was a case, yes, and it took the judiciary 9 months to come up with that verdict to say, okay, they were established by
Councilor Martin said that today.
yes, they were established by a presidential executive order, and therefore they have the legitimacy to exist. The other issue was the statute of limitation. And I think Senator Dillon has raised this issue in the Senate a couple of times, that they should even extend that statute of limitation from 5 years to 20 years. So
I
this
said
issue
15
of
years.
okay. So this issue of going back, that's the limitation. And I totally agree to that. Because, for instance, you're doing the domestic audit from 1980. Why if that thing that you are auditing today came as somebody duping the government? Should we pay the person or not? So I think this is something critical. If we are really going to establish this foundation to be able to fight graft and to be able to improve the management of our resources, these are the kind of legal framework that we have in place that we need to change. Also, this argument that this government, when you prosecute the previous government, then someone will stay in power, we have to look at the democratic culture of our country. It's different from Cameroon. It's different from these other countries. We are one of the countries in West Africa that have changed government. They beat you, you go and sit down. So by just prosecuting people who came ahead of you because of the statute of limitation, it's not going to make you to stay in power. Let's look at, I mean, after all of what we've gone through, the civil war, the democratic culture that is improving, who they will be tomorrow in 2029, you say, I can't leave because when I leave, they come and prosecute you. That's not the culture we have had.
The part that is the beat, because the beat is where the contention comes. You said no, I didn't lose. You know, somebody will come and contest the election and say no, it was cheating, happening so and so place and so thing. That's why people are, applaud the President Weah, because he conceded even when he lost and he was an incumbent. That's something that's strange in our country. Ellen Johnson left after she served for 12 years. There was even rumors that she cheated in both elections where she won.
It's not strange, man. When President Weah defeated Joseph Boakai in 2017, he conceded.
Because he didn't have the levels of power to hold on. He was the vice president. Elliot was the one that had to turn over and choose not to turn over.
He didn't concede. He took Weah to
he took it to court. He went to court.
They went to court.
And he lost 15. And he lost 14 out of the 15 counties, and Weah won like 60% of the vote. And it was so pronounced, and he still contested it.
What I'm saying is that eventually he called President Weah and conceded. Forget all that.
Some of us would like you as an economist, but you're very political. Let's just put that out there too.
No, he's a political economist, so you know. But you have to
the way you approach it.
Knowledge. Yeah, much I admire economic knowledge. He's also political. And
he's political, right?
Let's speak to the political issue. It has not been done before in our country where an incumbent will concede before the election commission pronounce the winner. It has never happened. President Weah did that. We should give it to him. You understand? We should commend him for what he did. Whether you like him or not, he did the right thing.
Labrador now is a case study to all African nations because of Weah.
But the Unity Party does not seem to exhibit such a behavior, and people are concerned about if or not they will be able to concede if they should lose the election in the future. Because when George Weah won in 2017, they didn't just pick up the phone and say, "Oh, we're conceding to George Weah." They went to court. Now they're in charge of everything, and they are using taxpayer dollars now to go build 15 headquarters across 15 counties. You understand? So we gotta be able to talk about these things.
But Dennis, here is one thing. 30 seconds. Our democratic culture is what is actually improving. So President Weah conceded before the election commission could announce the result because of the work that was done by civil society, other people. It was based on data. President Weah knew already that he lost the election. And so the institution that can announce election result is the elections commission. So eventually, when the Election Commission had announced that result, it would have shown that President Boakai was ahead of him by 18,000
1,000.
votes. So we commend President Weah for conceding, but he did not just concede. It was not that he won and he still said, "I'm tired, I'm going to leave." It was the democratic process that led to that point. So I think
Did President Boakai,
It wasn't
Vice
a
President
democratic
Boakai
process in
concede
2017
when he was losing,
Weah
when he lost 14
huge
out of 15
with bigger
contests?
margin.
No, he did
Did he
not.
concede then?
No, he
Okay.
won.
This brother
What
here,
the
but
fuck?
stick with your academic.
Thank you. It's besides the point, and I had a problem with every man he brought on the show. Everything is just tied to President Weah. You know,
You said that be the one Brit on the show, Mr. John. That be Brit on the show.
all right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us this Friday night debate, we've discussed the $1.2 billion budget. We discussed the asset recovery, trying to recover assets from Finda, Bundoo and her daughter. If you are watching, please keep your comments coming. We'll also have time for you to call in. So, as the anti-corruption drive picks up steam, President Boakai himself has just returned from a high-profile trip abroad. And others are calling it, critics says he returned empty-handed with a 10 finger. Kula Fofana, the presidential press secretary, said, it's not about the president going somewhere, coming with backup money and say, hey, yeah, what I brought. Also, President Boakai, he was away, I think, 2 weeks, and people say he was flying private jet.
He's just embarking the flights. And he will be greeted by.
So the questions I want to ask on this one, were this trip necessary at this stage of his administration? How do optics such as flying private jet affect public trust? Should Liberians expect immediate deliverables from diplomatic visits? How should the government communicate trip outcomes to the public? Not just the outcome, but even before going. How do we do it? Trump, I'll start with you because your colleagues are saying you are political and you are defending Unity Party. So let me start with you.
No, it's not the issue of being political. For me, everything I say, I follow data and evidence. So I don't want us to make statements that are not grounded in evidence. Let's agree, President Weah conceded, but it was because he lost the election based on data, right?
He lost and he was frustrated.
Right, and that's based on
our. You didn't run campaign. You want me to do it? I will not do it.
Yeah. He said I can't do it, and he left. So we commend him. We commend him for that.
That's all everyone said. He just wanted commendation from Weah because everything is tied with Weah. You didn't do it to President Weah. So let's give it to him so we can move on.
Yeah,
I joined Trump to commend President Weah. Go ahead.
Right. But on the issue of these trips, it is the very Unity Party that has made it look like every time the president leaves the country, the president needs to bring something. Because it was a major kind of campaign against President Weah. Every time he went out, he went again today, he did not bring anything. And so today, there is this expectation that every time the president leaves the country, they have to bring cash back. But before President Weah, it was a kind of a culture that grew after the Civil War. Because the point was, when we left Civil War, every time President Sirleaf went out, people were making donations because you were a post-war country. So every time President Sirleaf went out, she would come and say, okay, this other country said they are going to come in to help us with the military. They will give us this million. This other country is going to help us with water. They are going to give us this amount. So this culture has grown in Liberia to the extent where every other country should be giving money to your country. So even when the president goes to Sierra Leone that is as poor as we are, we expect the people of Sierra Leone to give our president money to bring it back, which is not the case. Some of these meetings are just diplomatic meetings. You are a country, the other person is a country. So you go and establish these relationships. For instance, France. The trip to France was an invitation by the French president to the Liberian president. Let's not forget that the French government is losing their grip on the African continent. Mali is gone away. Niger is gone away. Burkina Faso is gone away. The current president in Senegal happens to be standing up. So what France is doing right now is looking for new friends because they have to find places for their private sector to go and invest. So you think the French president will just sit there and call a small country like Liberia and say, your president come? So that was a trip that was targeted to responding to a request from the president. And I think they signed some cooperation agreement. I think the one that was in place was signed as far back as the 1960s and 1970s. So these are broad agreements that are signed to say we cooperate. And then when the president returns, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can engage further to be able to define the specific spaces where those cooperations will take place. But France is one country that is really investing in our TVET sector. They have a program right now is supporting our TVET institutions and building them and improving their capacity. So we hope that this is something that they can continue. They visit to Dubai. I think there was also some agreement signed. So in terms of specifically what was brought back, those things can come in the future. But this mentality that money will always be on the plane when the president is returning is something that we need to move away from.
You care to mention also
Listen back, you know.
because it's not just about this, it's also about how much you spend. Because if you spend more, people will want more back. And also, just as you said, the Unity Party, when they were in opposition, they make a big deal out of President Weah flying private jets. It's just something that just have come to bite them in their rear end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there have been some different opinions coming now. Some people are saying, okay, if the president is traveling to this destination, he should be able to use the private jet. So I think the opinions on the issue of private jet is shifting. There was this video I watched, I think, from Ghana, where there was a story that the president of Ghana, I think, was traveling to Japan, and then he had gone to, was it Dubai or one other city, and then he had to wait for hours to be able to get on his next flight. And I think even when he got to Japan, he had to use train to be able to go to where he's going. So this argument is shifting. As the income is increasing, maybe we get to a point where we have to make a decision on this. But I think to have made a lot of political capital out of it is also another thing that is affecting the current government.
You say as the income is increasing?
No, I'm saying as the income of the country is increasing. Let's say by 2035, 2040, we are a middle income country and we can afford to buy a private jet for our president. We can do it. The argument is we are too poor to be able to afford it right now. In the future, there are countries that have it. We can have it.
Thank you. Ever?
All right, thank you. Look, when we talk about we are conceding, we're just opposing it to what Vice President Boakai's behavior were, at the time when he lost the elections. We're not trying to say that, we are the end of be all. But my second point is, I agree with the president using private jets. I think for security reasons, for convenience, I think that's why you have a budget and you decide then if you can afford to allocate monies for the president to travel on a private jet. If it's too expensive, if it's outrageous in the millions of dollars, that's going to take too much away from the country, then yes, maybe you can find other means. But I'm sure the money is allocated. I think one of the problems that people have with President Weah, I think the fact that he said it was a gift given to him by a friend, and it wasn't allocated for through the budget. So many people have issues with that. I'm not sure if President Boakai's private jet, expenditure has been allocated through the budget. If not, then he's in the same boat with former President Weah. But I think the trip was necessary, like Thomas was saying. This is our president. He has to build diplomatic ties and strengthen diplomatic ties with other countries. He's not going to travel there on a canoe. He's got to go ride a commercial airplane. We know Ellen Johnson was trying to do that to try to show face because she was getting so much international donation, and that's to keep the money coming. She didn't want to seem like she was living in opulence, but we know how much she allegedly stole from the country, and But my main point here is that the president knows that France has a lot of interest in our country, deals with Total and other French companies that's doing business in Liberia. And sometimes, even when you have a deal, you just have to go there and seal that deal with a dinner or a glass of wine with your partner. So the president wanted to make sure that he's reinforcing his relationship with France. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like Thomas is saying, there's hypocrisy that Unity Party was exhibiting during President Weah's time, and comparing it to how they're acting now is laughable because no sound person would expect a president to go out and every trip he comes back with quote unquote the goodies. The president doesn't have to come back with even MOU. Sometimes a state visit is just what it is. A state visit is to show that these two countries are friendly nations and we respect your sovereignty and we see you as a friend. You're welcome into our country, whatever the case may be, as a diplomatic gesture. So I don't hold President Boakai. I don't hold anything against him for not bringing back anything tangible. I think France is doing enough by investing in our country through the private sector, like Total and Orange and other companies that like we're doing business. That's fine. That's fine with me. I don't see any big deal here.
Sammy, I want you to respond to this because everyone has used a lot of if President Boakai, if it is in the budget, we've seen so far that people they're legally stealing. Because not because you put it in the budget, so you should use it. Number two, if we don't know, he keeps saying if. So if we don't know the amount, it means you want to steal. That's why you are not transparent. How much are you spending? There's a Peter Weisfeld, the president, had flew more private jets in just less than 2 years than President Weah in 6 years. And so there is also extravagance. You are spending more than you are bringing in. Okay, that's waste. So if you're doing these things, isn't that clear that this is corruption? On mute, please.
Yes, I would say it is. Like for me, I'm against too much foreign travel. I think it's waste of money. The millions of dollars we use to travel all the time, if we can use it and put it in a budget or something that our old people that are living on a dollar a day can get. I don't think. I think for us, Liberian, we should set, since we consider ourselves a poor nation, right? We should consider only travel such as ECOWAS, United Nations Security Council, and like something that is genuine for Liberia to go to. Like we are out of this engagement that we ever had, the agreement we ever had with a certain organization. But traveling all the time, like for me, I'm against it. I think it's wasteful. I'm not expecting any president to travel to bring money back. It's just a friendship, you can say, or presidential travel. Like my brother rightly said, Mr. Kane said that our United Party, their own propaganda is hurting them. That's all. Because yesterday it was wrong for a president to be traveling all over the place when Liberians were suffering. Today it's okay because United Party is in power. Yesterday it was wrong for President Weah to fly a private jet. It was the big campaign slogan. Today we are justifying now that, oh yeah, we didn't know then. Yeah, you didn't know because you were not in power. That's all. That's why you didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't wear the coat. The coat is heavy. How will you know that the coat is heavy if you didn't wear it? Yesterday it was wrong. President Weah was flying private jet. Today we say is right because now we see the reason. We saw the reason why President Weah was flying those private jets. We should be always on the right side. Like town trap is not for good alone. When President Weah traveled before, we were expecting millions back because that was the same reason. That was the same propaganda. We convinced Liberian people that they meant travel all the time. He doesn't bring money back. We have to replace him. President Boakai will travel and bring money back. And when we expect him to bring it back now, they say no. Why you think President Boakai should bring money back? So what is bad? What was bad yesterday should be bad today. But I'm not against one private jet. I think all president need private jets to travel.
No, they don't.
Not against that. I'm not against that.
They don't.
No, they do. They do because as a president, you don't want to waste time when you have to meet somebody at 7:30 and you take a commercial flight.
So you go 3:30. So
so having you travel before and you have natural disaster that you have a circumstance that you don't technical issues that make
what about presidents on the plane with a terrorist and they hijack that plane? We ain't got no security guys on the plane.
We shouldn't agree on that.
Yeah, but why should president can die? right?
Mr.
Our
Jala.
president to travel. Why you think we have secret services to protect the president?
Exactly. That's my point.
We have
Okay, so
people to protect
if
the
for any
president. So
reason,
we
but
don't want the president to
let me
get
say
killed.
this, right? Because we are saying, and poor people always do that. You know, Taylor used to tell the people, you know, Liberian people love for the president to look good. There's nothing wrong with going on a commercial flight. After all, the time you waste when you come from to go to the church, so we can say thank you, God. The time you waste to go dedicate hand pump and all those different things, you can use that time to do something productive. So the only time we see the urgency in this president, in any president, is when they are traveling to go meet somebody. That's the time we want our president to get there quickly.
All
But
right.
we are never bothered
Do
about our
you want
president
the
getting to
president to
work.
travel? Okay, so do you want the president to try? Let's say United Nations, the National Assembly, or the General Assembly rather. So
Yeah.
you want the president to go late
Why
because
are you going
Efron,
late?
because
No,
Efron
why are
had
you going-
technical issues. Efron can
No,
have a technical
no,
issue
no,
and it
no,
can
no.
delay.
We all travel, right?
So like
Yes.
the private jet without have
All
technical
those
issues.
things they don't easily happen. Hold on, give me a break. Technical issue and all those things. We know that from Monrovia to New York is 10 hours, 8 hours, give and take. So leave the day before. If
Okay,
for
but if
any
you are flying
reason,
a commercial flight, it's not direct.
one second. I'm just using that as an example. So you leave the day before. If for any reason anything happened and you miss United Nations meeting, what's going to cost you? And you get there the next day. Because we often say it is not really that day, is the networking, all the things that go on. So what is the urgency to this United Nations meeting where Trump is going to be costing everybody that we got to take private jet to get there? Are we not going to find other means? Let me hear your thought, Anthony.
So, Mr. Ja, you see, I think somebody wrote that the president have traveled in less than 2 years more than President Weah
That's not
said.
true. That's not true.
That's not
Don't
true.
even
That
don't use
particular
that.
statement is inaccurate. If they want to be accurate, they can compare the first 2 years. They will have some legitimacy there.
Mm-hmm.
However, this president traveled to so many different places. No, one place that stuck to me was Korea. South Korea, they signed 23 MOUs. And since then, we have not heard anything about the 23 MOUs that were signed. They also went to the Japan African Summit, came back empty-handed, right? Like Brother Thomas
What do
said.
you mean empty-handed?
Well, not tangible came from some kind of diplomatic arrangement. They reaffirmed Liberia tie with Japan and blah 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 blah. Was the president really supposed to travel to that? In fact, people were in the other city. Our president was in a different city with a city mayor, right? Where the summit was taking place, the president was not there. The president went to a complete different city to meet another city mayor.
So that tells you the trip are useless. Don't go there.
Correct. So, look.
No, but Francis was the invite for a state visit. That's very important.
Yeah, hold on.
You are saying these are so urgent that we got to.
So certain trip I have evaluated, and I thought that Liberation have taken that trip. Number one trip that I mentioned is South Korea. Number two is this trip to Donald Trump, wherein President Boakai in his State of the Nation address to the nation outlined that China have done a comprehensive mineral survey. They listed 7 new minerals in that survey. Then the same president went and told Donald Trump that he wants Donald Trump to come to Liberia to do a survey of our mineral. Upon his return to the country, a reporter asking the same question that Mr. President, in your SONA, you mentioned that Liberia have discovered new minerals. Why did you ask the United States to come do a survey? President Boakai responds, I didn't say out of the country, I said 2 counties. Well, but in your nation address, you said comprehensive mineral survey was done by the Chinese government.
China
in Lo-Fi and bombing to father that one going.
Mr. Ja, these are the kind of thing when you hear from your president, you wonder what's the purpose of your trip. So you wouldn't want there to ask America to come to solve it. You think when they found good mineral that they will tell you the quantity, how many things in deposit there, they're not going to tell you. right? So, like Ibrahim Traoré is doing, asking these people, I want to buy the machine from you. You send the machine to my country. I train my own people to do the job. Can we do the same thing? We don't have to have a military government where we do things the military way, but can we purchase equipment that Liberian will be trained on and do the work, or sign concession deal where in 5 years period they will train X amount of Liberian to have certain expertise in certain area in exchange, instead of just signing deal, extending contract, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. I mean, these things are not helping the country. So, as per private jet issue, Mr. Comey even spoke on this. A route from Monrovia to Abuja, there's not a direct flight. But if you're going strictly to a destination and have a direct flight, you don't need a private jet. You can fly on commercial. If you are going to a destination that does not have a direct flight, it makes sense to travel on a private jet. But they brought their private jet issue upon them. President Boakai, when he served as a vice president during Ellington, he flew some commercial, he flew some private jet. So when his people are making the accusation against President Weah, he should have just cut it out of them. But they all ran with that propaganda because they were seeking the presidency. So today now, they have come back to bite them. So their excuse, oh, not every time the president travel. That's why we have Zoom. That's why we have all the technical means to, technological means to get to other people. Do the backdoor channel communication first. If you sure that this trip you go on will use something, you go there, nothing wrong. But I'm not against the France trip. The Elvis said, we have Orange in Liberia. We also have Total that is thinking about coming back to Liberia. There are other companies, that we can benefit from. But the extension of a settlemental deal, that's a bad deal. And these people don't want our people to know. They already extended that deal, my dear brother Thomas. Even though you might say, oh, it didn't go through the... We saw this president did not go through the PPCC procurement process of the 285 yellow machine. We know that. We know how this president has operated, and he can operate that way. So don't say, oh, he has not gone through the other process yet. Watch, and you will come back on the show and say, oh, Anthony was right. It has to be
rectified.
Extinction.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it right there.
But they're also, don't forget, they're also doing investments in the county. They're hiring thousands of Liberians in Nima. So they're doing more than just the $25 million that the government receives almost as a royalty every year. So they account for that too, Anthony.
No, Elvin, here's why I want to disagree. The government promised the Liberian people that asylum still, when they were dedicating the iron ore concentrator, that 6,000 new jobs were going to be created. Now, one thing they did not understand is that the iron ore concentrator is not in the best interest of a host country. The machine, what it does is a fancy wall concentrator. It's a sifter. It separates the debris. It crushes the iron ore. It breaks it into smaller pallets, and that's what it does. So it's not in the interest of Liberia.
No, that's not what it does.
Anthony, you have to go in Nimba and ask the people if there's been a positive thing. There are people in Nimba County getting paid $2,000 a month from a settlement, paying people at a very high, high salary. No, but the people in that area are feeling the impact of it.
But then why Nyatwa is complaining?
Hold on. Can the Liberian government negotiate to have a steel rock plant in Liberia where
Anthony, you're holding the conversation, my man.
Anthony, we'll move on. The concentrator, that's not what it does.
What does it do?
I know this because I've got engineers here that I interview. So let's leave that.
The concentrator is in the best interest of the company. It's not in the interest of the Liberian government.
I don't want us to go there. That's a different story.
Mr. Dennis, I will say
it's out of your wheelhouse, Anthony. You're IT guy, not a geologist or.
I'm not claiming to be a geologist.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So what it does is different. And
Dennis,
ever is not about how much money they pay to Nimba. This is our
company. But the people benefiting for it. They don't want to sell them to leave.
Yeah. Sometimes one person benefiting. The same people that are benefiting from, there are other people that benefiting from. People for benefiting from Weah, they didn't want Weah to leave. People benefit from.
Why were you President Weah? What you get these our president?
That close to a Lamco company, Lamco Librarian.
Right. So let's leave that. All right. So let me start it with why President Boakai returns to growing scrutiny. President Weah is making headlines of his own, but for a different reason. Is former President Weah sick? Conflicting reports and silence raise questions. My question will be, how should public figures handle health transparency? Is it fair for the media to speculate without confirmation? What will Weah's prolonged absence mean for the CDC political positioning? The headquarters first comes to mind. How does this reflect Liberia's culture of rumor and secrecy in politics? But talking about people being sick, and what President Weah himself set the bar. Let's take a listen.
This is not a into the hospital. And that's why every time he's sick, I send him to the hospital. But what I want to say, no, it's not a joke. This is not a joke.
He's not playing for me. I don't know if he's playing for the other people.
What happened the other day is a disgrace to our society.
They're playing for others.
For someone that want to be president, that telling that make me president, and the person lying to you. He said he going to the hospital. I could be said and say, Liberian, I'm going to the hospital, I'm going to treat myself. There's nothing wrong with that. Madam Sally was said so many times, she went to the States. Every president has said, of course, the nation knows it's nothing to her. The day I'm sick, if I get malaria, that's why I say I'm sick. It's good to announce to the citizens so they can know. You understand? But to lie to the people when you say it's a bad thing. I can be president, you lie. And the worst thing that they did, and I hope that Liberians stop doing these things. They are telling you that Joseph Boakai went to ECOWAS meeting. How can Joseph Boakai go to an ECOWAS meeting and the photo that they send you, first of all, they took away me and President Macky Sall image to prove that Joseph Boakai went to ECOWAS meeting. They took President Akufo-Addo of Ghana. Take Joseph Boakai here, put it on the president, and say that he ECOWAS meeting. That's a joke. You impersonating. You want to be president, you impersonating other president, and they put it in the meeting, but it's not the worst thing that happened. The photo that they put there, Akufo-Addo was sleeping. Because
Oh my God.
I didn't hear any of that, but I assume you're talking about the time when you say you give President Boakai money to go do it.
No, it's not President
No,
Boakai.
he said when President said that you announced it, she didn't have it.
Oh, okay.
So, Anthony, what do you make of this whole President we are sick rumors? You know,
I don't know much about.
But
I
he
don't know
himself
much
just
about
said
it,
it.
but if he's sick, people should know. I mean, like
Who
he
should,
rightly
who, should
said,
who should tell you and why?
the CDC should put out a statement. Their party should put out a statement. I mean, he's a political figure. He's a former president. I mean, he's an icon of our nation. He's a global figure. I mean, he himself said it. If somebody of that stature is sick, it's not something to hide. It's an opportunity for people to pray for the person so they can get healed. You know, it's not something to hide. Even when George Weah is sick, he will announce it. That's what he said. Probably he may not be in the position of announcing it. If it's true, I'm not aware, but if it is true that he actually is sick, it should be announced so people can start praying for him. People wish him well. He himself said it. But I'm not aware whether or not he's sick. I've been hearing rumors. I don't know how true it is. I've been seeing Facebook posts. Somebody posted something in our group chat, and somebody said it was an AI. You know, the person looks so pale or whatnot, kind of mimic his image or something like that. But I'm not too sure whether or not it's true. But I've been hearing. I've been seeing Facebook post that, you know, he's sick. But I don't know how true it is.
But is it fair for the media to speculate?
Oh, yeah, that's a fair speculation. That's a fair play. Like I said, in the video you just played, he himself said it. It's not something to hide. If he himself, Weah is sick, he will announce it. But we didn't hear an announcement from him. But he also expected people to announce it, and there's no announcement. So speculation is speculation. I mean, as a public figure, Mr. Ajah, somebody can speculate about you tomorrow, today, or later on something. They can speculate about me. We are in the media. We talk all the time. Does that mean that speculation is true or not? It is keeping upon the CDC now to put out a true statement to let people know what is going on.
Thank you. Sam, unconfirmed reports suggest that President Weah is in, former President Weah is in Ghana receiving treatment. Neither the Weah's office or the government has confirmed or denied that. Public speculation is growing. Today, I think it was today, when they asked the presidential press secretary, said, "Oh, you should stop it. You know, the president concerned about everybody, but we don't know. Nobody told us and all that." How should public figure handle health transparency?
Well, to me, I just want to say that President Weah, I don't believe that he's sick. I think it's just another UP propaganda to sway it away from to make people minds to be focusing on something else. Why they do what they want to do. President Weah self-stated here that it's not good to hide your sickness if you are sick. The president, he left the country. When he left the country, we don't know when he even when he left the country anyway. I don't know whether he actually left the country or not.
But the pictures, it's images that were showing.
I believe that I believe those images are AI. I don't believe that.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about when we saw him physically going to the mosque and also the dedication. Yeah. He didn't look.
No, okay. For me, I lost weight before, and people thought I was sick. I was not.
Yeah. No, I mean he lost weight. So those kind of images would it be the one to fuel rumors like this?
Yes. People once you are losing, once you say you start losing weight, people first impression is you're sick.
Because that would be the first time losing weight that we know.
Yeah. That's the first time losing weight that we know of. So people can speculate that he's sick. It's up to him to say he's not sick. And I think he have made more that he have posted on his story that we shouldn't listen to them. And when he even came from the mosque, then he also posted again and said, "My picture not up there again today." He made that joke. But when Jeremiah Kun, who was the sitting vice president, left the country at that time when they said he was sick, we didn't hear anything from the vice president office. We didn't know. The vice president never told, he never informed anybody that he was sick. But the people said he was sick. Was he really sick? Koga even admitted that he was sick. When either on school or one BKS, he admitted that Kun was sick. Kun, who said that President Weah is even ordinary citizen, was sick, and we didn't hear anything about that. So why President Weah's sickness should be like a very big deal to the Unity Party or CDC say, their boss is not sick. Unity Party say, your boss. I was looking at commented today where the two guys were going at insulting one another, mom and stuff like that. It doesn't call for. If the man is sick, he will come out and say he's sick. As far as I'm concerned, President Weah is in Ghana. He said he went on FIFA, according to Kofa during his interview with OKFM. He never mentioned President Weah was sick. Yeah, we can speculate that he's sick, but to me, I don't think he's sick. He lost weight. Is ordinary weight.
Are you suggesting since Khan was sick and he announced it, so we are sick, he shouldn't announce it too? I mean, what does that have to do with
No. I'm saying the vice president was sick. Yeah, CDC didn't make a big deal about it. Until the man is dead, the man is sick. That's a sick that he chose to. He shouldn't have any sickness, but he did. We didn't have problem with that. Why we should have problem with now?
Now you are saying that the Unity Party making big deal of it.
That's what I'm. Yeah, I think.
What is your thoughts? Why do you say that?
Because majority of my friends that are posting we are sickness, they are all UP. They're all UP partisans. I'm not saying CDC person posting. I'm friendly with both CDC and Unity.
The man is sick, my man. The man's sick.
Who said the man sick?
No, the president is sick. The president has a fatty liver and it's causing issues with his kidneys. So he's going to seek treatment. As you get older, some of these symptoms become more exacerbated, and it starts to show through things like weight loss and other things. He is sick.
Okay, so but now he's a sedition. I think you see here that he's a.
If Evan says that, I will believe it because
Evan. Okay, now. Yeah,
no.
For me, I'm not close.
You're not sedition.
Okay, but I'm not close to President Weah. Neither am I close to most sedition that are actually close to him. For me, I'm an independent, and I look at political party before even trying.
No, but you accuse the Unity Party of carrying the woman.
The reason why I accuse the Unity Party of doing that is, as I said, most of my friends who are related
But you're
parties.
your friend, not even 2% of the country. So let me go to Evis.
What do you mean? 2%.
Yeah, it's true. It's true that
Where do you get your information from, Evis?
well,
You're living
it's
somebody's health.
yeah. Look, the thing about sickness is like pregnancy; it don't hide, right? It will show at some point. The president is sick, you know, and it's been an ongoing thing. People within the CDC know that he's not well, right? But it's not something that is necessarily life threatening that could kill him tomorrow, you know. So he's not well. It's evident, and most people in the CDC, you know, who are really close to the president acknowledge it, right? There's fears that he may not want to run based on his, you know, based on his physical health. And many people are having trepidations about the future of the CDC because of that. But he's doing everything he can in his power to try to seek, you know, a medical remedy to make sure that he'll be healthy come 2029. But I don't even think he will be. You know, it's a high chance that it may be bad for the president. But he's not well. This is a fact. You know, this is a fact. He's not well. You know, President Boakai, when he was ill, he almost died. He had to do get a you know, get a heart monitor or whatever, have a stent put in his
Yeah, the
heart.
pacemaker.
When he was ran to the EWA hospital, people knew he wasn't well. But the difference is that when you're the president, you're more shielded. You get the top, you know, health care. You go to these different countries on diplomatic mission. You stay there for a couple of days and go see a doctor. You know, President Weah was well taken care of when he was in the executive mansion. Now he has to pretty much take care of his own health care. So it's a little more difficult. And anytime he leaves to go to another country or even being seen in a hospital, that's going to make news. Nobody's there to protect him the way they were protecting him when he was president. But he is not well. Nobody should try to lie to you and tell you everything is fine with him. He's not 100% well. That's it.
Well, he's the source. So we can say that he's a physician, so he's the source.
Not a physician, but
all that is
He's
speculation.
not a cedition, but he's a supporter.
Let me go to Tom.
And I respect that, Elvis. Thanks for the information, Elvis.
This is the only time you agree with Evan, you are excited. You happy for the president to be sick?
I have agreed with Elvis on so many issues.
Okay. No,
I'm not excited. Who will be excited for somebody to be ill?
I'm kidding. Tom,
No.
let's
But I always have respect for Weah. The fact that Weah signed my AC Milan jersey, you know what I mean that day when we had the post signature on it? I was so excited that day, man. Yeah, I will never forget it.
Tom, let me go to you on this. It's all in the news. Is there something you believe that Warrant, you know, that we should spend any time on?
To me, there are two sides to this issue. Normally, people will say that health is a private matter. So there are people who hesitate to bring the issue of health into politics. The other side to it is that people who are in politics are in the public, and therefore to be able to separate their private life from their public life is very difficult. So this is where I think it's actually a balancing act. And then when you go back to the video that you play, where former President Weah was saying, okay, when you are sick, it shouldn't be a secret. You should tell the people. Yeah, there's a bit of transparency around there because, like I'm saying, when you are in the public, there's a lot of hope that is on you. There are a lot of people who are following you. So from that perspective, you will say, okay, be transparent with the people so that they can even reduce their expectation of you, like Elvis is saying. If people know that you are not well, because these political leaders go through a lot. They have to settle private matters. They have to run the parties. They have to make sure some of the legal issues that we're discussing, it couldn't be you. But when somebody that is associated with you is in a crisis, then of course you have to provide support, backdoor channels and all of that. But if you are not well and they know very well that your health is a challenge, then they will give you that time to be able to rest and recover. So, but if he said that people should be able to share when they are not well, then of course this comes back to him for him to be able to inform the people. But I think where this whole story about the former president not being well is his appearance in the public after a long period of time. Since the transition in 2024, he has mostly been out of the public glare. it is during the past, I think last month, when he appeared for this groundbreaking ceremony, that's where those pictures came from. And based on the picture that came, when we have all watched him for the past 6 years, people were saying that the way he appeared, he didn't appear very well. And also there was this video from his church where he was coming down the stairs. At a certain point, he was like stumbling. He even had to hold his wife to be able to come down. And
Yep,
then
I saw that video.
yes, and then eventually the story comes that he went to Ghana. So as Evans is saying, but he disputed that though. After everybody came out and said he wasn't well, he said he's going to gym. Some other videos came of him going to the gym, and then he posted this thing that he's not using makeup. I think he was getting at the current president that the current president is using makeup. He's not using makeup. So that's why it gets complicated. Then you don't know who to actually believe, right? But like Evans is saying, when you look at the pictures, it gets a little concerning. That I think he's draining down a little bit. But maybe it's because he's not president again.
Yeah, Tom.
Oh, Thomas.
We have a color. We have a color. Before I bring in the color here, if you look at it, the person the Unity Party fear most is the former president Weah. There's rumors of president being sick. I mean, Taylor time when we got tired with Taylor and we wanted him dead. There was a rumor that Taylor is sick. When he's talking, the cancer is in his throat. Some people say, there's a dialysis machine that he have. So this Liberian president being sick is not a new rumor. And right now, Unity Party is just scared of President Weah running. So it is possible, if I can borrow from Mr. Jada, that they can spread rumors because that's the only person who they believe standing in their way to 2029 election. That's why when we are dedicate headquarters, the next day they want to do their own headquarters. So you don't think the fear of the way Unity Party is kind of relating to this, to we are running? I mean, when he say one thing, the entire party structure want to go after him with all kinds of insult, right? Couldn't that be something that is even telling people that, well, these rumors might be coming from Unity Party?
No, but I think if you ask that question, we go back just a few years ago. I think CDC was the one that even used that move. The major campaign message they had in 2023 was what? Joseph Boakai is sick.
Yeah.
He's not even going to make it to the elections. So I think these are just part of political tools that people can, political parties can use against their opponents.
Is Unity Party using that tool today?
It could be, but like I said, based on the pictures that came up, many people are not in political parties, but we know President Weah. We know how he used to look. Look at the picture in that blue coat suit when he was standing at Tua and other people. You can know that there's something happening.
Yeah, something happening. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. If you want to be part of the conversation, call the number that's on your screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. There are some CDC people now posting that, in fact, all kinds of things about President Boakai. But let me bring in our caller here. Caller, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Caller, are you there?
Oh. Is the line open? Sometimes you can say the line.
I think you gotta ask them to unmute. Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you have me muted.
You don't complain. I suppose I can do anything.
Okay. No, yeah, it's okay, all right.
Yes.
I just want to make a quick comment. One has to do with the current discussions and on previous show, not on your show, but on the Sunday show, where Evans Morris and one towel made a claim based on ignorance on how the Liberian government works. So I want to make that clarification. So for me personally, on the health of the former president, here is my take. Transparency matters. Weah is a former president. And if something is happening to him, it doesn't take a mountain for Eugene Nangwe, the chief of staff, to say it. Just for transparency, just announce it. Today, Joseph Boakai is the president of Liberia, and the fact is that he has pacemaker to help control his blood pressure. This is the fact, okay? And it's nothing big about that. Dick Cheney was vice president of the United States for 12 years, living on pacemaker. So when big people who have money get sick, they have access to the best treatment anywhere in the world. So for me, that's not much of my worry, you know. And I mean, just politicizing it, that's the one that is very sickening in Liberia, you know. And and the way the Unity Party is doing it is actually elevating Weah to a lion starter. Like, okay, we are so afraid of this man that we wish he even dead. So we now have in our mind a major challenge in 2029. I mean, that's just, I don't think it's a wise thing to do. But anyway, that's Liberia. Liberia is a country where 80% of the educated are basically functional illiterate. You know, so I mean, I take claim of this statistics. It's not, it's a guesstimate. It's not.
It's a speculation.
But let me just say this. On Sunday, Dennis, we are now on the show. Everett Morris and one Tao said diaspora Liberians who go to Liberia to take government job should not do so because they are going there to take opportunity from Liberians who maybe have access to $1,000 or $2,000 a month job. So Liberians who go there unpatriotic, and I think it's a bad idea for diaspora Liberians to go to Liberia to work for government.
The liar are going.
Okay, I want to use this opportunity to debunk that myth every time. And I think
Evans said that by 7 important in Liberia, Evans.
Our government in Liberia work, and why the Liberian government, even the country itself, is underdeveloped. If you read the TRS report, the poverty reduction strategy under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, part of the reason why the TRS was not successful to reduce poverty, there are many other reasons the final report talk about. But one of the reasons ever was a banning constitutional capacity, lack of skill, lack of trained skilled manpower in the country to make the strategy work. You know, and there is no debate about that. On this platform, you have created our Liberia education system sounds far normal, even in healthcare. So many of the people who have got education and live in the diaspora, yes, they've gone to good school, okay? And I can give you one example. I didn't go to the Ivy School, but I went back to Liberia teaching at the University of Liberia since 1847. Liberia has the first undergraduate degree program in statistics. Calabo Gonglo, working with the Department of Mathematics Chair, Marcus Bonde. I drafted the curriculum. Today, Liberia has that. It took me for a diaspora to, and for you to condemn that diaspora went there to make a contribution in working government, and it's unpatriotic and they are selfish. It shows your lack of understanding of governance and the challenge that the country faces. That's why I want to make this clear.
Thank you.
And I was joining the Sunday show with Jonah to debate with Tao and Elvis.
Thank you.
You have the capacity to debate it too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elvis made a call.
Well, I love him. There's nothing personal.
Let me announce that we have discussed Tanzanian Ivory Coast and Cameroon on our show, the African show. We call that Roundtable Africa. And so this is going to be going on. We'll be discussing other African countries. You can suggest to us. We are open to your suggestions so that we can bring you the best. You can only see this one focus on Liberia and nowhere else.
The next obvious country should be Sudan. Sudan is the most pressing one that you guys need to discuss.
All right. So another person said Guinea.
South Sudan,
Cape Verde. All right.
Yeah, Guinea is having elections, so we should be focusing on them too. They are beyond they are our next door neighbor.
All right. Thank you, guys, and we're going to bring you more shows tomorrow. I'll announce later.
Everybody on the
But
bottom.
time is fast spent. We need to wrap up, and this is what I want us to wrap up with. Looking at all the topics we have discussed, what do these 4 stories, the stories we talk about, what do these 4 stories reveal about the state of governance, accountability, and transparency in Liberia today? Is the Boakai administration making progress or falling into the same old pattern? That's where I want us to close. Tom is late on the side, so I want Tom to go first.
Making progress on what?
Or they fall into the same pattern, making on governance.
Oh, on governance.
The affairs of the country.
Yeah, so it's 5:45 here, so we can just continue until 6 o'clock.
Well, let me go there because someone I think you also more. Let me say this, right? I think President Boakai is a man from a past generation, and he remembered the days of Tubber and Tubman, the pump.
Hold on, let me get one more caller here. Is somebody just sneaking? Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hello, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Solomon Sampson, and I'm calling from Fargo, North Dakota.
Go ahead, Solo.
I just want to give my little opinion on the issues that we are discussing tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So the first topic was the national budget of $1.2 million. Like Big Brother Thomas said, the budget is not about to get increased, but let it be appropriately allocated to the various departments or sectors that are needed.
That means Saturday, they're not Tom.
Some of business of putting UP.
Go ahead.
So, if the budget can be allocated appropriately among these key sectors that will make a difference. The health sector, the agriculture sector, the education sector, and the infrastructure.
And more money, not just for pay. Go ahead.
Right. So increase the outcome of these different sectors, not just for salary. Yep, then that will make a difference. But so far, we'll just keep it as that. When it comes to our legislature and a lot of things that are going on in the country, I think that our constitution seriously needs to be amended by now. I think since 1985 or 1986, that was the last time our legislature looked at our constitution, and that is so shameful that we are in 2025 and we're still going by things that were written in the 1980s, and people sitting and getting paid, and they are okay with laws that were written 50 years ago. How do we expect those things to apply to our lives today? So if we cannot amend the constitution, we're having a problem with asset recovery team. We have a statutory limit of 5 years. Can you imagine? The presidential election, every election, the president run the country for 6 years. But then you have a limit of crime for 5 years. So that other 1 year, when they see that for 1 year, they lead the whole 5 years, you get with 5 years, that 1 year going free. These are the things that flaws that are in our constitution, and they cannot be amended, and it's so not unfair. We will not go anywhere if we cannot go back to that constitution. The next thing is when it comes to other things, the government. Let's say, for example, when Ellie came, let's talk about all that and then when Ellie came, Ellie was the president. Judy Brown was interim president for 2 years. What did Ellie do? Even though he was the interim president, Ellie audited Judy Brown. According to the story, the West African Auditing Group, something, he was found of investing 1.something million, and that investigation was going on. There was arrest warrant up for him. He got arrested, got bailed out. Court cases were going on when he died mysteriously. All right, now, 2 years audited the man. George Weah and CDC came into power. They said they would not audit Ellen, who ran the country for 12 years. Why? Nobody knows. Now, they left it alone. Joseph Boakai came in the picture, and Joseph Boakai said, listen, we'll audit you and we'll do asset recovery. And people are getting angry. No. If you wanted to be transparent, you would have audited Ellen. Now, Joseph Boakai can decide to fully audit you for the last 6 years and leave him with that. You don't have to go back to Ellie. It was your responsibility So visit Allen, and since you didn't do it, you cannot compare this government now to do that. So, but besides that, the government itself that doing auditing or doing asset recovery processes can be transparent. You did a $10 million mansion in Lofa. You signing deals in France that have gone through and they are coming, and we are hearing that the legislature is about to get $1.5 million in their package just to pass all the concessions that you bring home. So, if you want to be transparent and really fight corruption, you must start with yourself. But hey, let's say Joseph Baga just say we'll go after CDC people, and maybe when the next government comes, it will be their responsibility to go after Joseph Baga people too. But it just don't make sense. Even though we got to start from somewhere, like you were saying, one rule when we get 10, let's catch 1 4 and be running behind the other one. It makes sense. So yeah. So the asset recovery thing, Finabono, it doesn't. Everybody's saying Finabono was a Kobo seller. So they know Finabono lifestyle. People that are them, we're all passing around in Marvel. We all know our lifestyle. So if you become a politician and you get into power, and all of a sudden you become a rich woman or a rich man, if the asset recovery report that they pull out, they lay out how much you are earning a month. Or total earning in that 6-year period amounted to 300 or 400 and some more $1,000. So if they can see beside that money that she has a huge millions of dollars doing businesses with, it requires a thorough investigation. Let them investigate her, identify the assets, and recover them.
Thank you.
You know, the next thing is the president.
The caller is getting excited.
Yeah, got to call it.
Niger and the other people are getting away from France if I was well. France did not colonizer. They colonized these guys. Those guys fight hard now to leave from that grave. Now they are looking for people that will going to struggle, and because we cannot stand on our own, we are running to them. So trust me, there will be nothing profitable from people like France. Let's just forget that day.
Thank you.
It's only happening. When it comes to the health issue of
No. Come on now.
Oh man, they said one thing.
Listen, I'm not pushing everything back. I wish what they that because if they needed to live and they wanted a good view of health, they would keep it. They would build a good health sector in our country. The poor people continue to die, but when they say, "Hey, in Ghana now, you're looking for good hospital in the water," when you are going to stay in Liberia and die, then you would know that.
Stop it.
Tell the guy to call on the show next Friday or tomorrow. They ain't calling the show. I'm talking to
Thank you. Thank you. Evan, continue your closing.
I was just saying that the president is from a bygone era. He loved the pomp and pageantry of the presidency. So he wants to have the opulence that he saw his predecessors, the Tauber and the Tubmans, enjoy, and the Doles, So I think the president is not going to be a reformist when it comes to governmental spending. I think it's reflected through his budget. He's not cutting anything from any ministry. Many people were calling for austerity. I know Thomas said it wasn't the time to do it. There's certain, situations and, in which you might want to go to austerity. But the president is trying to balloon the budget. He's trying to pretty much add to the wage bill, adding different people on different boards and making different positions for his old friends. He's not somebody that's going to try to trim the fat, so to speak, of government. He wants to spend the money that government gets maintaining government rather than trying to cut it and invest in the people of Liberia. So I don't think there's anything new there. Mr. Gonglo, just to touch on it 1 second, I think the thing that really made you mad was that I mentioned the sister, Madam Weah, that the people of Nima were saying that she don't stay in Liberia after the election. She's almost transitory. She goes there, she runs for election. If she loses, she runs to come back to the United States. It wasn't sentiments that I shared personally. I was just, pretty much regurgitating what the people of Nima were saying and criticizing her from.
What you were reacting to it?
But no. He mentioned he called specifically and mentioned that point on the Sunday show, and I think that's an extension of that point. And the second point is that when I'm talking about people that live in the diaspora, look, I made a point. I still, I hold steadfast to this point. People that live in the United States who are working, I made this point in particular, who are making $5,000 or $6,000 a month. To leave that job and go to Liberia and become an assistant or deputy minister for $2,000 a month, and then the same thing we're talking about. A lot of them tend to pay off the mortgages A lot of them become very wealthy within such a short period of time. They're not sacrificing anything. They know that they're going to get more money through kickbacks and other deals and other corruption. So they leave the United States and then go brag that they're going to serve their country. That's what they hide behind patriotism. When we know that a lot of diasporan Liberians are, left the country and went to Liberia and stole money from the country. The case in point that Mr. Tower made was Ellen Cochran, who we saw was well qualified, went to, I think, MIT, very well educated woman, but she was very, very corrupt and blatantly corrupted. So for me, the point I was making is that diasporan Liberians, if you have a decent job in America and you have and you're a professional, stay in America, make your money. Don't go to Liberia and try to take a $2,000 a month job for somebody who needs it more.
It's not about money for me. I'm accomplished here. I want to go back and serve, even if I go to Sino, right? So for some people,
be a superintendent. He said eventually not be a superintendent.
Right. For some people, it's not about money. It's about service, and it's about your neighbor's experience. So if you want to spend some part of your life doing something,
Yeah, but unlike you, Mr. John, many people want getting the money, they're getting the Patrick Honda, and those people, they're getting all the benefit of being a government official, and that's the issue.
So you didn't answer my question. What do these four stories reveal about the state of governance, accountability, and transparency in Liberia today?
Well, I think okay, maybe you want to pass on me, but I think Thomas was extending our time arbitrarily. It was extending, but give me 10 seconds. Look, I think it really shows that the president wants to restore Liberia to what he saw when he was younger, so to speak, during the days of old. He wants the country to be well, attached or well connected to other countries. He wants the government to be bigger. He wants to, belong the government. And some conservative would say that that's a bad thing, but I don't mind. That's not my political ideology. But I just think overall, the president wants to build and reassure many relationships that Liberia has on the international stage, and he wants to be seen as an important nation on the international stage. And some of his actions through his foreign minister has shown that. So I don't have any issues with it. I think it's just more the same from what we had before.
Thank you. So, Thomas, you got to reach 6 o'clock. So let me go to Anthony. So, Thomas, you.
Yeah, Thomas will be a lot because some of the things I'm going to say, I want to be here to hear Thomas in the response to that. So, Mr. Ja, and thank you for the show, and sorry for coming late, but I'll say this. The approach of this president is not to move Liberia forward. His approach is not addressing the 21st century technological economy, so to speak. They can do a lot now to put into place systems that will benefit Liberia. They choose not to. For instance, all government transactions, service delivery area transactions should be digitized. There should be no reason why the finance minister is still doing paperwork, writing things on a piece of paper here and there. It should never ever be that way in the 21st century. Can it be done? Yes. It can be done. There are software out there. You can hire a person to get that one done for Liberia and deploy it. Today, Liberia should be running a VDI system where multiple servers are installed and all government computers are linked to that VDI, right? So you don't have to use your personal laptop to do government work and using your Gmail. The other day I pulled out of my wallet and I saw a former ambassador, Josh Patton, and his email address is ppatton40@gmail.com. All his official thing. It's not a good sign. And today, as we speak, many of them still using personal Gmail account to do government business. When a guy leaves the ministry, he's completely blacked out. His login will no longer work. You have all of the data for the country. The other day, I heard the Deputy Minister of Information, aka Manco's minister, who said data is not important to fight drugs in Liberia, that the government is using more practical means to fight drugs in Liberia. But in the same token, he said that the government is going to launch AI. Well, in the absence of data, AI is useless. AI cannot function without data. So how can you say the government will not use data, but yet they don't even know how much people are considered Zoco in Liberia? They don't have a data for that. So in this 21st century technological economy, we got to deploy technology to our advantage. Liberia should not be talking about AI with UNDP to launch master program in the University of Liberia, but we don't even have the fundamentals laid out yet. I mean, sometimes when I hear these guys talking about technology, the other day I saw them doing, cyber security. Look, learn the fundamentals first of technology before you can go to these things. You don't nobody gets up and get a Ferrari. Your Honda Accord, your Toyota Corolla, that's what you start with when you start driving. When you can afford it, then you get your Ferrari. But Liberian will just jump out and get a Ferrari or Lamborghini. It doesn't work that way. And I've seen this administration talking about technology in a way that it sounds so, ignorant, because you must have the fundamental steps to technology to be able to get to where you need to get. Today, there are many people who have cell phone, they think they know computer. Using a cell phone is not computer. Yeah. And you gotta know these different things. But by you using your cell phone, you think when I gave you a laptop right now, I said power on the laptop and power back. Many of them don't know how to do it, but they can do it to their cell phone. And they think that they know computer. So again, the Liberian government need to explore technology to be able to deploy services to our people so they can also use service delivery with digital services. Right now, the MTA buses, they not even have digital service. They will still be paying with money card. That thing is not correct. So help me out there, you the economist.
Thank you. Thank you. Tom, you get the last word.
Thank you, Dennis. You asked a very big question at the close of the program. How does the topic on budget, on asset recovery, on the health of political leaders, and every other thing we discuss, what does it say about the state of governance in our country? I think that's a question for an entirely different show. Because as a country, we are making progress on the electoral side. What we're discussing, when one president wins, the president will leave, the other president will come. But on governance, we're not doing well. And I'm not the one saying it. You can look at all of the reports, the World Bank CPIA reports that come out. The recent one that came out, Liberia made some progress. We took some steps, I think, from 3 point to 3.1. But one of the issues that they highlighted in that report is on the issue of governance. And public financial management was one of the issues that they highlighted. The way we use government resources in that country is still very poor. People use government resources. Quite recently, the Controller and Accountant General, there was a press statement he put out that if people cannot submit quarterly financial report for their institutions, they were not going to get salary. How can you use public resources as a hell of agency? You use the money from January, February to March. And when it is time for you to submit a financial report to the Ministry of Finance, you don't submit it. And the next morning you wear post suit, you go back to office. So our governance system is something we're still struggling with. So when we say governance broadly, what it is the systems, the processes, and the institutions through which we make decisions and how we exercise authority. So that's something that we still are building and moving on. So when you ask about governance, it's still very poor. Our institutional frameworks are still very poor. So for instance, the government right now is signing an agreement with a company from Sierra Leone to do a public-private partnership to build road. But we have not still finalized the public-private partnership policy. We need to finalize the policy. We need to finalize the institutional framework for PPP. Other countries have specific government units responsible for PPP. We have not done it. So it means we sign the contract before we come back to do the policy. The president just established this carbon market authority. Have we actually, the EPA although put out the policy framework for the carbon market, but the policy is not even finalized. So in terms of governance, we have a long, long way to go. Our governance system is still poor. Transparency and accountability is not there. They had to basically beat people to go and declare their asset, which is a sign of poor governance. So this is something we still need to work on. The caller mentioned something about the Constitution. For me, I have repeatedly said that we don't need to amend our Constitution, and this is an argument in the country now. I think we need a new Constitution. But I think there's a provision in the Constitution, I think Article 91, we have to amend that article before we are allowed to write an entirely new constitution. Kenya did it in 2010. They basically wrote a new constitution, and then you go to referendum between the new constitution and the old constitution. A lot of things are changing. Even the thing we do on decentralization, for instance, is not in the constitution. Somebody was talking about IT. They just passed a new cybersecurity law. Things are changing. We need to reflect those in the constitution so that it can represent the constitution of today. And I think the Governance Commission has started to do some work on that. The Law Reform Commission is also having this proposal. Even when Councillor Boakai, the new justice on the bench, went for his confirmation hearing, this is something that he said, that we should not just change clauses in the Constitution, let's write a new one. I think that's something we need to pay attention to. On the issue of the diaspora, I think it's a mixed bag. I agree with Mr. Gongolo. Capacity is seriously lacking in Liberia. And when you look at the policy framework, the institutional framework we have in the country, it tells you that we don't have a lot of capacity. There are some people in ministerial positions who should not be close to those positions because the capacity is not there. But also on the diaspora, like I have repeatedly said, there's capacity that goes back. Sometimes some of the people that we get from the diaspora, they are not competent for the jobs that they do. But they just go by, they say, oh, because I'm coming from America, especially people, they appear on social media, they talk a lot. And then eventually when they go back, they cannot do the work that they were asked to do. So it is capacity that is really, really holding that country down. Our reforms are very shallow. Anthony was just talking about digitization. Up to now, we don't have a digitization strategy as a government. We need to have an overall strategy for a digital economy so that the individual institutions can now look at their strategy to be able to move digitization through. Even what the LRA is doing, it should be done from a national strategy, but we don't have it. We're talking about job creation. There's no job creation plan. There's no job creation strategy. You just got the one AARD that people develop and put out there, and everybody's singing song about it. I think you and I had a program on it. So all of these things, service delivery, they are all part of governance. Because when we say governance, there are principles, transparency, accountability, inclusion, participation. So on those ones, we're not really doing well as a country when it comes to governance.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. And even our colleagues who left earlier, we want to thank our viewers for always watching and sticking with us tonight. Until then, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.